Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following episode. My name is Colton Brown, and with me, it's Mr. Andrew Meadows.
A kind of sick Andrew Meadows. So if I sound a little stuffy or congested or any other adjective to describe sick person sounds, that's because I am indeed under the weather.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully we can make it through these next several hours together without much incident. I myself, I noticed as I edit the podcast, several of the past episodes, I've definitely noticed how nasally I've sounded at times. So it's only fair that we trade places at some point, I suppose. So
Duty calls.
I think I actually feel okay now. Never really quite got like fully sick, just like kind of, a little bit.
Kept it at bay, right?
The congestion and everything just never quite went away. A little bit of a cough. There's a little bit of a lingering cough actually right now, but nothing too crazy. But anyway, shit sucks, so I sympathize. It's mostly the point I'm trying to make. But we're gonna trudge through the muck and get through some exciting things in this episode.
Yes.
This is hey, it's just the two of us. Only one project this time. No Japanese double feature or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we do have one Japanese film that we're talking about. We ultimately decided that we would cover Godzilla Minus One for this episode. I think there was perhaps a moment there where we contemplated doing The Boy and the Heron instead, or in addition to, but short and sweet, or at least watch, review, repeat version of short and sweet, which is still probably several hours, but certainly a far cry from the 4.5 hour monstrosity that we did with the Marvels and Loki. Let's put it that way.
That's true.
I'm just gonna flag that right now. We shan't be doing that again. But we're here, and it's exciting. So before we get into some maybe a fun fact or two, potentially about Godzilla Minus One, I of course want to remind our listeners that are listening to this, if they're not aware, we are on Patreon at patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat. Over the past several months, we have been doing some fun bonus episodes over there, a series of bonus episodes around epic films, starting, and most of these, to be fair, are on the regular feed, so hopefully everyone's had a chance to listen to them at that point, but it's an ongoing series. We've covered, from the beginning, we've covered Troy, Gladiator, Lawrence of Arabia, and then now we're kind of in the midst of covering the Lord of the Rings film trilogy, the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings film trilogy. And as of recording this episode, we have recorded on both the Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers, and both of those, by the time this episode is up on the regular feed, are up on the regular feed as well. But we're going to be recording hopefully quite soon on The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, and so theoretically by the time this is on the regular feed, that episode will be in the bag. That'll be up on Patreon for our supporters on Patreon to listen to. And even though we haven't recorded it just yet, I can assure you, closing out the Lord of the Rings trilogy is going to be a big deal. So it's going to be a good episode. Still need to watch the movie, for the record. But I'll get around to the.
It is the most epic
hours.
of epic movies, though. I mean, I think this one's clocking
really
4 hours, 40 minutes, or
four
something.
plus. To be fair, including the credits, which includes the extra fan club credits of just 15 minutes of fucking names. But still, it's if you're talking about purely just the actual film itself, you're still clocking in at least around 4 hours, if maybe just shy of it, but right around there. So it's no small feat to even just get through the film in the first place. But it'll happen. I promise you. So anyway, patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat. $2 a month will get you access to those bonus episodes on a timed exclusive basis. So if you want to listen to that Return of the King episode before anyone else, that's the way to do it. And then we haven't decided what we're going to do post Lord of the Rings. We're knocking on the door of 2024. Maybe we'll turn the page and do something else besides epics, or we'll just keep going on the epics train. Who knows? It's a conversation for another time, but rest assured, I think we like the model that we're doing right now of doing one-off episodes with one movie. I think for Mr. Papa Meadows, I think it's a pretty easy way for him to do it, and it's obviously easy for me too, as opposed to the 5-6 movie bonus episodes of old. So that's where we're at with all that good stuff. Now I want to hear a fun fact about Godzilla Minus One, if you have one. Not to put you on the spot, but if you have one, I'd love to hear one.
So I've got a fun fact for you. This fun fact is there's been, I think this is 70 years of Godzilla. Godzilla Minus One marks the 70th. Well, next year's supposed to be the 70th anniversary.
It's the anniversary, right. Yep.
A little side fun fact is Toho and I guess Lionsgate Pictures, Lionsgate, they can't put out Godzilla in the same year. They have to... There can't be two Godzilla releases in 1 year, apparently, according to whatever contractor. I read that somewhere. So
you can't have an American Godzilla and Japanese Godzilla in the same year. They have to be spaced out in some way. Well, yes. I guess, as we'll talk about later in this episode, that is indeed true. So
2024 is occupied. Anyways, I think the newest iteration of Godzilla for the American Godzilla, anyways, was Gareth Edwards' Godzilla, right?
Right.
That's what I think of. That's kind of what kicked off our current...
it's the Monsterverse, which, there's an Apple TV show now. There's another movie coming out next year again that we'll get to shortly. But, you had... stemming from the Gareth King Edwards. Of the Monsters...
Godzilla.
Yes, coming back from that 2014 Godzilla. It's gotten a little unwieldy since then, but that's where it started. That's where that American side of things... before that, you had Roland Emmerich's classic, obviously, in '98, but we usually don't talk about that. In fact, I think Toho themselves were like, we're going to acknowledge this movie by putting this character of quote-unquote Godzilla, renaming him Zilla, and having him getting fucking demolished by the real Godzilla in about 3 seconds, which was the correct way to treat that version of the character. But anyway, I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. What is this building to?
This is building to... I compared Godzilla Minus One, the budget from Godzilla Minus One, to Gareth Edwards' budget.
All right, let's hear it. What are the figures that we're looking at?
Gareth Edwards' 2014 Godzilla.
Okay, going back nearly a decade.
Yep, was $160 million.
All right, pretty modest for Hollywood, big blockbuster type of thing. Obviously, again, 10 years ago, it's $100 million less than The Flash, or the obvious ones that we've made comparisons to this year, Ant-Man and the Wasp, the Marvels and stuff. So,
mind you, minimal exposure to Godzilla. Like, I don't know if you're.
True.
I mean,
they really hold back on seeing Godzilla in the flesh until like pretty much the tail end of the movie. Yeah, that's true.
And it made don't get me wrong, it was to great cinematic effect, but that money wasn't going to, that money I guess went to actors, I guess, Bryan Cranston, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Elizabeth Olsen. I guess they don't come cheap. I don't know. But anyways, 160. Godzilla Minus One, somebody made a comment about a $15 million budget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
$15 million. Ooh, so
$15 million, exactly. And the director apparently he replied on X, formerly known as Twitter.
Sure.
If I'm making these, if I'm calling this right, said that he only wishes that he could operate on a $15 million budget.
Which is to say that it was under $15 million, and perhaps significantly under $15 million, if that remark is to be interpreted.
No, that's the way I interpreted it. Right?
If it's $14.9 million, you probably wouldn't say that. So 10 million, 12 million.
Which we'll get into it when we start talking about dissecting this movie.
Even if it was just 15 million, even if it was 25 million, even if it was 50 million, this is the type of thing we talked about when we talked. This is very similar to the fun fact you brought to the table for the creator.
That's right.
Which we thought was extremely impressive. It was like sub $100 million and it looked incredible. I don't know what they're doing over in Japan, but maybe America needs to learn a lesson or two, because this is incredibly impressive. Now, I have to imagine that the actors are not getting paid anywhere near what American actors get paid with Hollywood films, and I imagine that's probably a chunk of it. But at the same time, the quality of these visual effects, even if you spent literally only if the actors took they got paid in pizza. All this money was rooted to just the visual effects. $15 million, which it wasn't even $15 million, as we've established, to get these visual effects is it's unheard of in America.
Yeah, it's outstanding. It's ridiculous.
It's honestly ridiculous. Yeah, it's insane. So yeah, I don't know what the fuck they're doing in Japan, but they know what they're doing. Let's put it that way. Incredibly impressive.
That was my fun fact. I mean, shit, we can't do anything for $15 million in America. Like if you,
that pays for like one of the ships that gets used in a scene. Like we're gonna blow up a ship. That's $15 million right there, gone.
Exactly, done.
I am perplexed by when we think about like Hollywood budgets, everything's always kind of inflated, and it's always kind of like, yeah, $200 million. It's a lot of money, obviously, but it's not. It's like that's not crazy for a Hollywood movie, but this is just it.
And it's I guess they really didn't have to spend that much money on advertising and anything either, because I mean, I really think that it's setting the internet on fire, right?
Yeah,
I feel like
it's doing well. We'll talk about that certainly, but no, it's doing quite. I mean, look. I think you look. You turn the calendar back to the beginning of the year. I don't know that we knew this movie existed. First of all, and even when we talked about it, when we talked about the trailer. I think, maybe we like thumbed it as like, oh, this could be cool. We'll probably watch this. I don't know if we'll cover it, but here we are. We slotted it in, there's other stuff that we could have talked about that has come out in the past
Miyazaki
several
movie.
Weeks, months, and this is what we settled on. And maybe that's for a reason. So I don't know.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about that. I have a small fun fact, which I think could be relegated to talking about the movie itself a little bit later, but it's very short, very brief, so I'm just going to throw it in here now if you don't mind. And it's something I think that the trailer itself kind of talked about, or maybe we just talked about it when we talked about the trailer. I actually don't specifically recall. Godzilla Minus One is a weird title. It's kind of,
it's definitely kind of clunky. It's a clunky
kind of
title.
Clunky. It's a little bit of a clunky title. It looks better like it's fully, I think, spelled out as Godzilla Minus One, and as the Americanized version of the title. I think the Japanese title is Godzilla -1.0, like the numerals, and it almost kind of looks better that way. So Godzilla Minus One has a sort of clunkiness to it for sure. And there's a reason for the title. And again, maybe we've talked about this, maybe we haven't. But the rationale for it, and it's something that I thought maybe would be kind of addressed in the movie itself, but it's really not, so that's why I'm kind of throwing it here, is that the idea is, because this is a period piece, this is a movie set basically at the tail end of World War II, and for those familiar with the history of World War II, things don't go well for Japan towards the end, to say the least. In fact, Japan is a country that is left devastated by World War II, and so the idea is, by the end of World War II, Japan as a country has been, set to
knocked down to zero. Yeah.
They're knocked down to zero. This is as you think as bad as it's going to get for the country of Japan. They have been brought down to zero. Yes, but in comes Godzilla, this big fucking lizard dinosaur monster thing, and suddenly things are just getting even worse for Japan. Just when you thought that they couldn't get worse, they go below zero. They go to -1. They put Japan into the negative. And so that's the idea behind it is, you haven't already completely, absolutely fucked, devastated Japan. And wouldn't you know it, things can get worse. That's why we have negative numbers. You think zero is the worst it's going to be. No, -1. And guess what? Maybe there'll be a sequel called -2. Who's to say? I don't know. We can get there later too, but anyway, we're right here. Godzilla Minus One. That's the explanation for the somewhat clunky title, which, the more I have said it and seen it, I'm like, I get used to it.
Yeah, of course.
But there is a certain clunkiness to it for sure. So I figured that's at least worth addressing to some extent. So would you like to move on some headlines, some trailers, and then talk about Godzilla Minus One after that?
Let's do it. Yeah.
We do have quite a bit of headlines, do have quite a bit of trailers. I think we're kind of finally at the point where we're mostly caught up on things. By the end of recording this episode, I'll say we'll be pretty much caught up on a good chunk of things. I think there was a Dune trailer that came out quite literally today that I didn't quite stuff in there, but doesn't come out for a few months, so I figure we'll get around to that. But this is more or less a good point for us to be at this point. So we're going to start by catching up on some older news stories. One that actually broke a little over a month ago, and it's Warner Brothers doing some fucked dumb bullshit, up to their usual tricks, or at least their usual recent tricks. They decided to shelve a film called Coyote versus Acme, which was I'll say is a live action / animation hybrid movie starring John Cena. And they in their infinite wisdom decided we're going to Batgirl this, we're going to Scoob, whatever the second Scoob was supposed to be called. We're gonna do that to this one, and just basically kill this movie. We're gonna get tax breaks for not releasing it, blah blah blah. Or we're gonna get a tax write down. That's the official terminology.
Okay.
We're gonna get a $30 million tax write down for shelving this film. And and this is like to further explain what it is. It's based off of like Looney Tunes type shit. It's a case about Wile E. Coyote. Where
that's Roadrunner.
Sorry. Close enough. You had me convinced for a second there, but I guess they are related characters, to be fair. Yeah. So it's basically the premise of this movie, which I think is kind of fun and interesting, is that the products made by Acme Corporation ended up backfiring on Wile E. Coyote and his pursuit of the Roadrunner. He ends up hiring a human attorney to sue the company, and so this is the movie that is basically about the court case revolving around that. And John Cena is not the attorney. He's the CEO of Acme Corporation, and Will Forte is playing the attorney.
Okay. All right.
But pretty good, funny premise. James Gunn helped with the story, didn't actually write it. But by all counts, this film was completely done filming, basically, at the time that they said, no, we're just going to get rid of this movie. And, $30 million in the bank, baby. What are you going to do? So, who cares that we spent, probably twice that for this movie? We're going to get what money we can recoup back from it. And then that's going to be that. It had been done filming for a year at the time this decision was made. And much like the case was with Batgirl and Scoob, Holiday Haunt is what it was called, getting scrapped, whenever that was, a year ago or whatever, people were fucking pissed. The filmmaker was pissed. The director of this movie, Dave Green, was fucking livid. And I think a lot of people involved in it were kind of like, this was a really fun, creative movie, and now no one can see it, and that sucks. And we have there's nothing that we can do about it. And, and it's just like, it kind of further propels this fire of like, why the fuck is anyone going to work with WB? If you make shit for them, they're just going to scrap your shit, and you're not going to see any ounce of, money out of it. You're not going to, feel any fanfare from people seeing it and liking your work, and it's just like,
well, it's a waste of
how
time.
is this going to incentivize creators to work with them? And so the backlash actually somewhat succeeded here. WB has since reversed its decision to bury the movie, and they can't completely save face by just releasing the damn things themselves. What they're doing is shopping it off. Maybe someone will buy the rights for more than $30 million. I mean, you think about a Knives Out package being half a bill, Lord of the Rings package being Billy or whatever. I don't think this is going to command those types of figures, but especially with, like, this has almost probably generated more marketing for the movie than dropping a trailer would have.
That's true.
In some ways, right? So there are studios that are currently vying for the rights, including, I think, Amazon, Paramount are in the mix. Probably anyone and everyone that has some sort of streaming platform or, a theatrical, production, mechanism. Yeah. Everyone's kind of in on it, so we'll see. We don't know who's going to, ultimately buy it. We don't know what the figure is going to be for, but anyway, it's been kind of a shit show. So, I mean, what do you think? Is this anything that appeals to you based on the premise? I mean,
I haven't watched anything Looney Tunes in a long time, but I think it's an interesting concept. It is unfortunate that, people work on this shit and it's never released. I mean, it's one thing when you have a project, and it doesn't get beyond a certain point. It's another thing entirely when you have a finished product and you just don't get a green light. I mean, especially if like you're all the contracts I imagine have royalties involved in some capacity. You know, so they're looking to get paid on the back end, and they don't get any back end. They put in the work, and they don't get paid. You know, that's got to be shitty. Yeah. Imagine the contract also probably protects against that in some capacity if they choose not to do it. And there's probably like a settlement or some shit. But, anyways, yeah, it's you know, I don't know if I would have watched it. I can't remember the last time I watched a Looney Tunes thing. I remember liking Looney Tunes though. I always liked Coyote and Roadrunner. I always thought they were pretty fun. I was always more of a Bugs Bunny and.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Bugs Bunny and what the fuck's his name? The guy that's always Elmer Fudd.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And the rooster. You remember the rooster?
Wesley Webbit.
Oh, Daffy Duck. Mm-hmm. You got Daffy Duck, and then what the fuck's the rooster's name? I'll say.
Oh, what is the rooster's name? Oh no, that's gonna bug me too. Thank you for the listener that's yelling at your phone. It's blank.
I can't think of his name.
Rooster Cogburn. That's not right. Rooster. Come on, Google, you're failing me. Rooster Looney Tunes is Foghorn Leghorn. Jesus Christ, how did that take that long to get there?
Foghorn Leghorn. That's it.
There we go. Thank you again, person yelling at your phone.
There's some good ones.
I heard you. There was just a little bit of a delay for me hearing you. That's what happened there. So
that was Tweety. That was a Tweety character, right?
Tom and Jerry.
Not Tom and Jerry. Tweety was Foghorn Leghorn was a Tweety bird character.
Oh yeah, I mean
maybe they all like flow.
I feel like I don't know. I think they're all in Looney Tunes kind of thing. So I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
know if they're like.
Long time ago, I used to be a Looney Tunes kid. That was a long time ago.
It's been a minute. Yeah.
This is good stuff, though. It's a shame they don't have those anymore. Saturday morning.
This sounds like a fun riff on classic Looney Tunes and throwing it into like a modern
thing
setting. Almost like Barbie-ish. Almost taking a kind of concept that if you just played it straight. If you're going to do a live action Looney Tunes, is that going to be that fun? I mean, maybe. I guess it's a little bit money. That's sort of the point of it. But at the same time, doing it in this particular way feels like a clever and more
interesting.
I don't know, interesting way of doing it. So yeah, I mean, obviously, at some point, someone will probably buy it. Netflix is another company that's in talks. Sounds like Sony and Apple are out at this point. They're not that interested, or at least maybe not for the price point that it's currently at. Who's to say? But yeah, we know whenever we get news on this, we get a trailer on it. Hopefully this is something that survives to 2024. And, it's one of those things, like, I hope that if it does get a theatrical release, that it does gangbusters and WB feels like a bunch of dipshits. Like that's the ultimate prize, is like WB just falling flat on their face with their
In what world does WB not make money on a Looney Tunes product, though?
Yeah, I mean, to the point where like getting $30 million, like, is it you don't think this movie is going to make you a profit of $30 million or more? Like, or I mean, I guess not even that, because they already spent the money on it. So that's like, I feel like that's a sunken cost effectively, right?
I feel like Looney Tunes, my introduction to Warner Brothers was Looney Tunes. I feel like it's wholeheartedly a Warner Brothers product. You know what I mean? So, like, if I was Warner Brothers, I'd lean on that property 100%. I'd be pounding out Looney Tunes every chance I got. But I don't know. I'm just a humble car salesperson. I don't.
Yeah. What do you know? Anyway, let's move on. We got plenty of headlines to get to, so we needn't dwell. Let's talk about what A24 is up to. And Darren Aronofsky, we should say.
Okay.
And what he's up to. A24 and Darren Aronofsky.
That is a combo.
Are working on. It sounds like it would be a good combo. I'll let you decide. They are making an Elon Musk biopic.
Ooh.
What do you think about that?
Well, that wouldn't have been my first thing to make a biopic on.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
He is a interesting individual. He's changed the world in a lot of different ways. I think he's a monument. How would you say that? Monumentous? Is that a word? Like, he's a
monumental.
Monumental. Yeah, he's a monumental individual. He's a major individual. He's a big player. he's an asshole, and he's kind of short-sighted on a lot of different things. I don't know why he needs a biopic. He's still like, what is he, 50 something?
Wait until he's dead and his legacy has been solidified,
or at least old as fuck.
Basically, everything that he's been involved in. Because I think if he made this biopic 10 years ago, it'd probably be like, this guy's, he's a genius. He's amazing. And then you make it now and it's like, it's like,
just an
this
asshole.
guy fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And if you make it in a decade from now, you give him 10 more years to ruin shit with all the money that he has, and you'd probably have an even more scathing, take on it. This does not excite me at all. In fact, I
dislike this project. Yeah.
It's too soon. I'm not going to say you can't make an Elon Musk biopic, certainly at some point, but while the man is actively ruining shit, like every time he fucking tweets something, it's like,
he just turned on Alex Jones's Twitter account.
It's the same thing as I don't need a Trump biopic. I don't need anything, like it's like really depicting that era of America, which obviously we still are living in. It's like it's too current, it's too modern, it's too recent. I don't need it. I lived through it. The Elon Musk biopic is being written every day. You know what I mean?
It's like
I don't need it. I don't need it immortalized in a movie. And I think if someone is going to make a really fucking interesting movie, Aronofsky's a hell of a pick for it, certainly. But
yeah, maybe
I don't know. It's apparently going to be based off of his authorized biography, which it's like I'm sure that thing wasn't heavy hitting. You know what I mean? Like it's probably a fucking fluff piece. I haven't read it. I don't know that for sure. But it just kind of feels like
that's true.
A24 feels pretty. I don't know.
You would think that Aronofsky would make a critical movie of like he would make like a
and that A24 would, and so maybe it would be that. Maybe it will be that. Who's to say? It just doesn't. To
it
me,
could be based off of Elon Musk and still be critical of Elon Musk. Either way, it is too soon. Totally. I mean, I don't care if it's critical or not. He's still actively doing things.
Yeah, and that's I don't need it. It's kind of how I feel about it. It's certainly an intriguing combination of
very artistic
studio filmmaker, a polarizing figure to say the least. So I get the kind of allure of doing something like that, but I think at this point in time, it's
okay
to draw on another comparison. I don't need a bunch of COVID movies, while we were all actively living through COVID. It's like I get it. I get it in my personal life, every day. I don't need, and obviously now we're at the point where we get COVID as a plot point in movies and stuff like that. And it's like, all right, we're at least far enough past it, even though we're still obviously living through it, that it's like, all right, I guess
it can feel like modern. It feels like a modern movie with COVID now. Right.
What
I mean?
It's like, if it's you either embrace the fact that COVID was a reality of life, or ignore it, Elon Musk style. You could do that certainly. And I don't know. Just so it's just one of those things. I don't. Sounds like a disaster, but I guess who plays Elon Musk? Just do we get blue Lars Mikkelsen? Because I feel like he already has the look pretty close. I think someone, I think there was Kathy Bates or someone that was jokingly thrown out, and it's like, well, these days it's not far off or something like that.
They haven't announced the Elon Musk actor yet?
No, I don't think they've done that. Yeah, there's part of me that just hopes, they pull the rug out from this thing at some point. But I don't know.
Pull a WB?
I don't know. They could do that. Yeah, wait till the whole movie is completely done and then they pull it out. Say, "Fuck you, Elon Musk."
We're gonna release this 50 years from now because it doesn't need to be made right now.
What's going to happen is if the movie is critical in any way, Elon Musk is going to buy it for like $3 billion because that's chump change to him, right. And then he's going to shelve it,
right? Or do that,
yeah. Yeah, he's going to reshoot the whole movie. Yeah, something like that. That's our bold prediction for how this thing goes. Anyway, Elon Musk sucks big time. I don't think we need to obviously wade into the muck too much here and get into the nitty gritty details of why that is the case. But suffice it to say, it is. And no thanks. Put it in there because it's certainly intriguing, certainly worth talking about. But I can say for myself, I am not interested in that in any way whatsoever. So, yeah, I'm good. Now, this next thing, though, if you're ready to move on, is certainly intriguing. Lex Luthor is going to be in Superman Legacy, and he's going to be played by none other than Nicholas Hoult.
Oh, my boy. He's getting all the stuff.
He's getting some stuff. He's getting lots of stuff. He's gonna be Superman's arch enemy, the big bad, perhaps of Superman Legacy. So a younger casting for Lex Luthor again, but I think a more inspiring choice than Jesse Eisenberg ever was, if I do say so myself. So yeah, what do you think? What do you think about this?
I like him as an actor. I think he can nail it.
He's a great actor. Honestly, I feel like he's obviously been working for a long time. I actually am kind of surprised looking it up that he's only 34 years old. He's not much older than either of us. But it feels like we've been seeing him on screen for a decade plus, so...
Kudos to his agent. His agent's making all the money.
Yeah, no, I feel like he's got the... Because he was reportedly also up for Superman himself, and I never really saw that as a good fit. He's never really struck me as that.
No.
Because he almost kind of plays like, in a lot of his roles, he kind of plays an asshole in a lot of his roles. I feel like Lex just kind of makes more sense. I'm not saying he himself is an asshole, but he's good at playing one, and to me, he always just kind of has a smarmy, more villainous streak to him that to me screams Lex Luthor than it ever screamed, Superman himself. So, and particularly in the menu, he played a very big asshole in the menu, and he was really good at that.
I never saw Renfield. I do want to see that.
I didn't see that. I think it's probably streaming now, so we could always come back around to that at some point. But yeah, I do want to watch that. I like him. I think he's a good actor. Mm-hmm. We've seen him bald before in Mad Max Fury Road, so we know that he can not look completely ridiculous with the shaved head. And James Gunn basically said that the reason for this casting is he wanted someone that was closer. He wanted someone that was going to be Superman's contemporary. Is kind of why you have this younger Lex, younger Superman kind of paired together, which obviously is not a super novel thing. We saw it in Smallville. We saw it sort of in Batman v Superman, but everything about this feels again a bit more inspiring than what we saw with certainly with Batman v Superman and the Zack Snyder iteration of Superman and such. So I'm in. I'm definitely in on this. I think it's going to be a good pick. And I think the cast is rounding out quite nicely overall. They also cast Skyler Gisondo to play Jimmy Olsen. And if you look up this guy, this is the most Jimmy Olsen-ass looking motherfucker you'll ever see. I assure you. Classic, comic book 1950s or whatever. Jimmy Olsen, just
Jimmy Olsen,
an absolute doofy looking motherfucker, but perfect for this kind of role. And presumably, if this is better than the Zack Snyder iteration of Jimmy Olsen, he won't get killed 3 seconds into his first appearance in the universe. So that'll be something too. And then finally on the DC stuff, Sean Gunn, brother of James Gunn, is apparently going to be playing the character of Maxwell Lord, not necessarily in Superman Legacy, but in the DC universe, the new DC universe.
Maxwell
character,
Lord.
If you recognize that character's name, that was the character that Pedro Pascal played in Wonder Woman 1984. So we're already getting a big,
dancing on top of the spotlight.
Is. That's him. That was him.
Okay.
He said, life is good, but it could be better. He says that to lots of people.
Yes.
And he starts dancing. He's a... So, I mean, Sean Gunn is certainly a capable actor. Certainly accusations of nepotism are probably not completely unfounded, given that he is, in fact, James Gunn's brother, but certainly a good actor in his own right. Weird pick here, though, I think, for this character, who's kind of a charming, evil businessman. I don't really get that sort of vibe from Sean Gunn, but I think all of the other casting so far that we've heard about has been really, really, really good. Or at least I like, how they seem to fit the characters, obviously without having seen anyone yet. So I'm a little skeptical, but it's.
I think Sean Gunn looks like he could play the role. I've just never seen him in that kind of role. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's usually playing a weird fucked up thing. Like, he's on on his knees, running around his rocket, and a little green
he's got
shit.
so he's always comedic.
Or he's Weasel.
He can still be comedic. If I'm thinking about I'm thinking of the Die Hard asshole. You know what I'm talking about? The one that's trying to bang John McClane's wife.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? Hey, let me make you a deal. It's that one of those guys. I can see Sean Gunn playing that guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm for it. I'm all for all the casting news. It sounds good.
I have my faith in James Gunn until he lets me down. I have no reason to to doubt kind of what he's cooking over there at DC.
Let him cook.
DC needs the page to be turned. They need something new and fresh and exciting, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the finished product of it all. So yeah. Anyway, that's what's going on DC, Nicholas Hoult, etc. With the casting news there. Now moving on to another headline, the Karate Kid. We're getting more of the Karate Kid.
Oh no! What's happening with Karate Kid?
Not more of Cobra Kai. Although I think Cobra Kai, did it have its last season yet? I think it has a planned finish if it hasn't happened yet. I think it's coming soon. I think maybe one more season or something. But separate from that, but also maybe not directly conflicting with that. I don't know. I'm not sure. We're going to be getting a Karate Kid film, which is going to merge several different iterations of the Karate Kid. So Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio are teaming up to reprise their characters in a new Karate Kid film. So obviously Ralph Macchio he's the OG
Danielson,
Karate Kid.
yeah.
Danielson, Daniel LaRusso, and Jackie Chan was the Miyagi type figure in the Karate Kid with Jaden Smith. Which I didn't watch either. And also, it was called The Karate Kid, but I'm fairly confident he was teaching him Kung Fu, which is definitely a different type of martial arts, but, name brand recognition or something. So, apparently...
pretty fucking sweet, though.
Oh, yeah, I'm not doubting that. I'm not saying there's no merit to the martial arts of Kung Fu, but I'm just saying it's not karate. But apparently those universes are one and the same, or at least they are now, because they're bringing those two characters into a feature film, which has been penciled in for a December 2024 release date. It's going to start shooting in the spring, so they're moving fast on it.
Okay.
What do you think about that? Karate Kid cinematic universe, baby. Beyond the Karate Kid, its sequels and Cobra Kai, obviously.
I really like Ralph Macchio. And historically, I'm a big fan of Jackie Chan. I grew up on Jackie Chan. And second time this week, I'm going to bring up Rush Hour. I fucking love Rush Hour. I haven't seen him in a long time, but I've watched those movies a ton of times. Jackie Chan's great. He's definitely got a charismatic way to doing, kung fu and karate and cinematic stunts and stuff, because he does all his own stunts. At least he used to. He's got to be pretty old now, but anyways, I like Jackie Chan. I like Ralph Macchio. I don't know about the combination of these two movies because I've only seen one of the two. But what Ralph Macchio has done with the Karate Kid Netflix series has been outstanding. And so, I'm not inherently against this. I just, I guess let's see who's involved, the creatives involved, and, let's see where it goes, I guess.
It's being directed by Jonathan Entwistle, who worked on TV shows like I'm Not Okay With This and The End of the Fucking World.
I did see that. That was very good.
Yeah. That was going back a few years, but I recall you liking that. He's directing. For me, this absolutely could work. I think as long as it's not like in direct conflict with Cobra Kai, if it's like, Cobra Kai is not canon anymore, but Jackie Chan's,
like if you're gonna pick one to be canon, you pick the Karate Kid Netflix series to be canon because it's
definitely
incredible. But anyways,
Cobra Kai can obviously be its own thing. You can still have a Karate Kid involved, with Daniel-san involved. That still, as long as they kind of all coincide with each other, I say, hey, why not? This could definitely work. It's an interesting, fun pairing. I have no idea if that Jackie Chan Karate Kid movie was any good. Probably not. But doesn't mean you can't make a sequel that's good. So. No word on Jaden Smith's involvement at this point. We'll see. So we'll see. We'll see about that part. But yeah, hey, apparently a year away. They're like I said, they're moving.
They're doing it.
So
yeah.
We'll see if it makes that date or whatever. But anyway, there you go. Now moving on. Scream 7 is going through the ringer right now. A lot of shit going on over at Scream 7.
What?
So Scream, to I guess bring everyone up to speed, probably yourself included, because I don't think you've watched the recent
No, I haven't
entries.
been into it, yeah.
They did Scream 5, which I think was just called Scream, because it's a classic thing of we just name the same thing as the original, even though it's a
Scream
sequel.
20, and then you have to put
that way you can put the
year.
You put the year in the parentheses, yeah, and it makes everything super very clear for everyone. Halloween did it. I don't know, other things have done it. Let's put it that way.
Bullshit.
But they did that. I think it was pretty successful. They did Scream 6, which was also pretty successful. And they're set to do Scream 7, which, makes sense. The two recent entries have kind of revitalized the franchise. But Scream 7 is it's in trouble right now. So it's according to Variety that it's facing a full creative reboot. And I think it's a somewhat self-induced creative reboot because apparently the folks at Spyglass, which is the producer of this franchise now, I think they're being very cheap and making some poor decisions, shall we say. So what started this all was that Melissa Barrera, who is one of the main characters, there's like two sisters that I think are kind of the main characters in it now, beyond Neve Campbell, who was the original character who didn't come back for Scream 6 notoriously because they weren't going to pay her enough money, and she said, "Fuck you, I'm not coming back." So they kind of pivoted and had, I think, these two sisters being the main characters. So one was played by Melissa Barrera, the other was played by Jenna Ortega, who herself has blown up considerably in popularity with Wednesday and such.
Yeah.
Melissa Barrera was fired from Scream 7 because she went on social media criticizing Israel, for obviously what's going on over in Gaza and the Israel Hamas conflict was just I'm going to sidestep that entirely. I'll say that right now. We could be here a long, long time
talking about the conflict
and outs of that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole beast that we are not here. We are not, That's
the
not
UN just called for a ceasefire, though. They didn't agree on that.
A lot of people calling for a ceasefire. All right, and I have my opinions that I'm going to keep for myself because, again, I don't want to get.
This
I don't want to
is
get
not a political
bogged down.
podcast. This is a movie.
It's not
podcast.
what we do. I'm not an expert on it. I think there's a lot of nuance to the situation, which I think can get lost in having a conversation about it. I mean, truthfully, and I think it's evident here because her posts were definitely critical. Some deemed them to be anti-Semitic and kind of what they said. But looking at them, there was some things that you could point to where it kind of felt like it was maybe leaning into the idea that Jews run the world. That's a very off, kind of quote conspiracy.
Yeah, getting in the
thing.
deep water there.
And I would say that looking at her posts, I think that you could interpret it that way, but it wasn't very clearly going that way. It wasn't full-on Amy Schumer style rants or anything like that, which are the opposite way, criticizing Palestinians and being quite racist in doing so. There were some, it was basically just criticizing Israel for what they're doing, I think pretty much flat out. And that is basically what Spyglass cited to was like, oh, her posts, this goes against our core beliefs, blah, blah, blah. And so they fired her from the movie. Long story short. I think people were kind of just like, wait, so you're not going with the thing that maybe seems like she's saying Jews run the world? That's not the part that you're saying is the problematic part. It's the fact that Israel did something wrong. Okay, interesting that you are going with that approach of why you're choosing to fire her. So I think Spyglass cut quite a lot of shit for this. Then it came out in the couple days after that Jenna Ortega had quote-unquote scheduling conflicts for the second season of Wednesday, so she couldn't come back either. So yeah, now they're at the point where they don't have any main characters anymore. Maybe they're going to bring back Neve Campbell if they back up the dump truck full of money. But until they do that, this is a movie kind of without characters in it now. I mean, it's creative reboot because I think they're going to have to probably either write a new script. I don't know how far along it was in terms of where things were written anyway, but yeah, they're basically going to have to work on a fresh script for it with new characters. I think that some people have said that, Scream 6 feels like a decent enough endpoint for the franchise if you want to treat it as such.
Jeez.
But yeah, it's a bit of a mess over there. And again, I say self-induced. I think that Jenna Ortega could probably work out her scheduling conflicts if she really, really wanted to. But I think that basically the real story is probably in part, some hurt feelings about how Spyglass has handled everything, but also probably they don't want to pay her the money that she probably can earn. She probably had a pretty cheap contract back in the day when she wasn't as big as she is now.
Yeah, right.
Now that she is,
you want me to come back, pay me more money?
A more considerable salary. Exactly. Yeah, it's yeah. Okay, well, you're not going to pay me that, then I guess we have scheduling conflicts. Oh, well, I guess we'll be filming Wednesday for the rest of my life. Oh, no. So anyway, total shit show. I know you're kind of on the outskirts of this, as we obviously established with not having, watched the recent entries, but I got to say, for myself, this does not make me want to go back and watch them. I don't know if you feel the same way.
No, I have not. Oh, God. I think the first one had Carmen Electra in it, right? Or no, that's a Scary Movie.
I think that was the parody. First one had, famously it had Drew Barrymore in the very, very opening. And then Neve Campbell, Rose McGowan, Skeet Ulrich, Shaggy. I think that was also a Scary Movie, but I could be wrong.
Maybe I've never seen Scream. I've only seen Scary Movie. No, I think, I've missed the bus. Sometimes we miss the bus on certain things, and
parody form.
I missed the bus on Scream, so that's okay. It sounds like
the bus has left the station at this point, is what it sounds like. So
crashing and burning.
I think at this point, you're probably not going to make it. And hey, I don't think it sounds like neither of us are going to lose any sleep over it. Maybe so.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. Well,
that's that.
That's that, right?
Make movies, not politics. Keep your shit to I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was a pretense. I don't think they wanted to pay Melissa Barrera either. They were like, she was in The Heights. Now she's gonna ask for $500,000 more. We can't.
Fuck! These people are successful.
She posted something on social media. She's fired. She's fired for saying something. Just put some random quote in there about why she's fired. It'll be fine. No one's gonna get mad at us. I don't. It's whatever.
That's it. Yeah. I don't know. Jeez. All right. So that's anyway, Scream 7.
That's Scream 7. Now Timothy Olyphant was in Scream 2.
That's a name.
I don't know if you knew that, but he was in Scream 2. And wouldn't you know it, he's going to be in another project as well. He's going to be in an Alien TV show.
Holy shit. Alien TV show?
Alien TV show coming to FX from Noah Hawley, who you would know as the creator of Legion, Fargo, the Fargo TV show as well.
But Legion,
I think probably other things. But Legion, I think is I said it first because I thought that maybe that would be part of your brain that clicks.
For sure.
Okay.
I haven't seen. I saw the original Fargo. I've never seen it. I've heard great things about the Fargo.
The show is supposed to be really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Legion was obviously very good. You can't speak to that certainly. And Timothy Olyphant's going to be playing a major role in it. It is a prequel to the Alien franchise.
Okay.
Allegedly, Olyphant is going to be playing a synthetic.
Love it.
Which is pretty cool. We'll see if he does the fingering in this movie, in this show rather.
I can see it though.
Show's going to be executive produced by Ridley Scott because the man can't help himself and stay away from the Alien show. And it's going to take place on Earth. It's an Earthbound alien show. It's about 70 years in the future from present, but still obviously predating the events of the original movie and I guess its subsequent sequels, at least the ones we care about. So what do you think? Olyphant, alien show. I don't know if we really talked about it. We might have talked about this a long time ago. I honestly don't remember, but it's
I think
there's a lot of names in here that are pretty cool.
So, first and foremost, I'm a huge Alien fan. I think it's an awesome franchise. I think that the franchise has tremendous peaks and valleys. And I think that the scents are like I think they're sometimes the most compelling characters. I don't know if I've gone on record on the podcast, but I've definitely gone on some record. I've definitely said it before. To have the acting prowess to portray a synthetic thing to be a humanoid robot is like another
different side of acting.
Yeah, it's a different side of acting, right? Like, I mean, just to like evaluate every like micro expression that you can make on your face and to say everything like and to think about everything that you're doing. Essentially how a thing would be programmed to do something is I don't know. I'm a real big fan of that. I think Michael Fassbender did an excellent job in Prometheus of doing that, I think. And so did Bishop. Bishop was great in the first Alien. I'm a real big fan of the synths and Alien, just the franchise in general. Not to mention Ridley. Ridley's awesome. Ripley. I think it's Ripley.
I thought it was like, are you lavishing praise on Ridley Scott?
No. I think what's
I think
name?
On occasion the man knows what he's doing. But yeah, Ellen Ripley.
Ellen Ripley, yes, she's great too. I don't know how you set this on Earth.
Do we think that Ridley Scott named Ripley after himself?
Maybe.
Just changed the letter and thought maybe no one would notice?
Oh my gosh. I think we stumbled onto a conspiracy.
The conceited prick. Is that what he did?
That's not far from the truth. Yeah.
Getting a little too big for your britches there, Mr. Scott.
I couldn't be more excited about this. I didn't know this was happening. Excited about it. Timothy Olyphant's a long time worker with FX. They obviously keep coming back to him. Yeah.
The man likes a steady paycheck. One sympathizes.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, dude.
And he puts in the work. He doesn't phone it in. He just kind of does his a cool Timmy thing, and like that's fucking awesome. We love it.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm really interested to watch him play
Marvel
this role.
Studios, Kevin Feige. But until then, I'll get this is a good space fix of Timothy Olyphant, so I'm excited about that. Yeah, no, it sounds really cool. Noah Hawley, Alien, the Earthbound thing is I don't know. Hopefully they go to space at some point. But are there going to be aliens on Earth? How's that going to work? I don't know. Seems like it could be bad for the planet, perhaps. But
maybe it's
maybe they'll figure it out.
Like in a facility, locked down in a facility, experimenting or something.
Yeah. Well, something's getting nuked at the end of the season. Let's put it that way.
Right. Kill it with fire.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. I'm excited. Love it.
Cool. I think the show apparently had started filming very, very briefly, but it's set to resume production in early January, or in January, which is early 2024 is what it says. So, maybe we'll get this at the end of next year. Maybe it'll get pushed to 2025. I can certainly see it having some post-production stuff to be done. So we'll see, but certainly excited to keep tabs on that and see where it goes. Sounds pretty cool. Now, our final headline is not the only boys thing that we're going to talk about on this episode, but it is the only boys headline. It is the last headline that we'll talk about. Hot off Gen V being pretty successful spinoff, we're going to be getting another The Boys spinoff. This one is, at least for now, called The Boys: Mexico. Has a pretty intriguing creative trio behind it. So Blue Beetle writer Gareth Dunnett Alcocer is working on it alongside Diego Luna, Cassian Andor himself, and Gail Garcia Bernal, aka Mr. Werewolf by Night himself. They are both executive producing this, will be taking on roles in it, but it sounds like minor roles, not major characters, probably because they have other bigger projects that they're working on. But yeah, we're taking The Boys to Mexico. It's going to be shot in Mexico, and there's really no other info on it other than that. I guess it's just maybe a side of the Boys-averse that we haven't seen shit in Mexico thus far, so they kind of probably have a pretty blank canvas of how they could, create some Mexican shitty superheroes, and such. So yeah, I don't know. All of those things said, does that intrigue you? What do you think about The Boys Mexico?
The creatives working together intrigues me. I don't need more boys than what I'm getting. You know what I mean? Like, okay. I'm there for like the main thread.
Like, are you going to fire up Gen V at some point?
I'm actually, honestly, to be completely clear or honest with you, I'm waiting on your opinion of it. You said you were going to watch it and dive.
I did say that.
I tried to watch.
I think I also said I'm not going to watch it anytime soon. So as long as you're okay with waiting a bit.
Yeah, no, definitely. I tried to watch the animated thing that came out, and it was.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I guess that was another spinoff too.
They lean very heavily in like the grotesqueness of what The Boys is. But at the same time, I feel like it kind of misses the vibe of like you can make a grotesque thing. That's not terribly complicated to do.
Sure.
But it's another thing to have the writing prowess and all the stuff that The Boys has. Not to say that that the most recent spinoff, the one that you're going to watch,
Should be.
Not to say that it doesn't have it, but I'm not actively seeking out more Boys. Boys is rich enough for me.
You'll need it. You're happy to wait every 2 years. You get a new season of The Boys, and that leaves you satisfied.
Boys is pretty fucking rich. You know what I mean? Like I don't.
It is. It's why. As I said last time we recorded. It took me however long it took to get through that last season. It was a period of several months, if not close to a whole fucking year that it took to get through it all. So it's and the more it goes, the more insane it gets.
And
truly.
it's written well. It's written good.
Totally. Yeah, it's good. It is good, but it's a lot.
It is a lot.
A lot to take in.
So whatever. So I think there's really good creatives behind this. I think it can be something special. Is it? We'll see. Like everything else I say in the news, pretty much.
I agree with you. Great creatives, certainly inspiring choices. Definitely seems like if you're going to do The Boys Mexico, spinoff, this certainly seems like the way to do it. Am I asking for it? No, not necessarily. But as was the case with Gen V, apparently it's supposed to be pretty good. So there's absolutely no reason this can't be good and be a worthwhile, part of the Boys-averse. I guess I also just agree in the sense that it's like, following the MCU is like complicated enough at this point. The Boys, spent so much time like making fun of a lot of the other superhero stuff, and it's like how does it come to a point where The Boys is becoming
the thing that they start making fun of, right? Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Do you worry about that at some point? And I don't think it's there yet necessarily. But it does feel like there is a path that it goes down where it's that, or it's like The Walking Dead or something. Was just like enough is enough, right?
Yeah. And that's why I'm I really enjoy The Boys, and so I'm really hesitant to start taking part of all these spinoffs and things that they have going on, because the thing that they sought out to do is so good, so that was a really good call. Becoming the thing that you're making fun of,
you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
That's the truth.
Now we got some trailers to talk about.
Yes, we do.
And we're gonna some good ones on here. I think some good ones. We're gonna start with a big fucking deal. The Aussie mastermind George Miller is back. He hasn't made a film since Mad Max Fury Road.
Happy Feet,
unless he made a Happy Feet sequel in the midst of that coming out in this. But I think he's been sitting around, waiting for the right opportunity to do something. But when you know it, oh no, I am wrong. He did do something. He did 3,000 Years of Longing, which I haven't seen.
Was that him?
Yeah, that was him.
Man,
Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba.
Oh, that brings a big smile to my face. That movie was incredible.
But what he did is he needed to step back from the Mad Max-averse for a second, because now he's back. He's back into it with Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Sort of like Fast and Furious Presents, but equally bad in a different way. But at the end of the day, it's a movie. Basically, we can just call it Furiosa at this point. It is a Fury Road prequel with Anya Taylor-Joy taking over the role of Furiosa from Charlize Theron, playing a younger version of the character, and they brought in Chris Hemsworth to let the man actually speak in his natural Australian accent and just go to fucking town. It looks like. It's George Miller, I think, writing and directing. It's kind of a full-on Fury Road prequel, and certainly involves a lot of the same visuals and carnage and mayhem and stuff. Fury Road, obviously, one of like the greatest action the greatest action films of all time at this point. Obviously, it's
Yes.
now coming up on a decade since it came out. People were saying it at the time. Nothing has really supplanted it, I don't think, in the almost decade since. I think it still stands up as just what a fucking ridiculous accomplishment that movie is. And now we're finally here with a little bit more. So what do you think about Furiosa, a Mad Max saga?
So I'm actually watching the trailer to the original Fury Road to see how the kind of vibes that it gave, to see if it matched. And I think they're different.
A little bit different. Same world, obviously, but definitely a little bit different.
Same world. So what I will say is, man, Mad Max Fury Road is fucking fire, dude. It's like
is that an epic? Can we consider that an epic? I mean,
yes,
just
yes.
have an excuse to go watch that?
It's funny. I watched this trailer in the bathroom at work the day that they released it, and I had it cranked up in the bathroom. And the bathroom's like a 5x5 room, like it's like the size of a porta potty at work, but it's a lot cleaner. But and it's like
bouncing off the walls in there.
It's like wrapped in tile, right? So everything echoes really loud.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
sure.
I saw that the thing. So I turned off the vent fan. Because I'm sitting on the toilet, turn off the vent fan, I want it quiet, and I'm just cranking Mad Max on the toilet. Anyways, I realized that I haven't seen this movie in years, the Fury Road. It's been a long time, and Mad Max Fury Road is most definitely an epic. That would be a Lord of the Rings fun fact, like 15-minute dialogue on the production of the movie.
How the fuck was this movie made? Yeah, definitely.
I think
put
that's
that in our back pocket. Fury Road. We're going to talk about it more extensively.
Boom, bingo.
Sometime down the road. Maybe that's a 2024 aspiration for sure.
Yes.
I'd love to do that. Certainly in advance of this movie coming out, if nothing else. Right.
Anyways, yes. So I have to get off the original. The point that I was trying to make is, can he capture lightning, and can he capture lightning in a bottle twice?
Yeah.
And from this trailer, it looks like it could go either way. It can look like an attempt and fail, and I think if it fails, I feel like it's going to let down pretty hard.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely an option, definitely a possibility.
If it succeeds, I think it'll be absolutely it's lightning in a bottle twice, But there was something truly special about that original. Not even the original. I mean, just Mad Max Fury Road. It looks there are glimpses of it present in this trailer. The score certainly sounds like it's there. It's very epic. But then at the same time, there's glimpses to where it looks like a cheap attempt.
Yeah, almost visually sometimes it looks worse than the movie that came out almost 10 years ago.
That's right. It's because it's not practical. There's non-practical things in this movie.
But it does seem like there's more of a reliance on full-on CG elements, whereas it was really, I think, used as sparingly as possible in Fury Road.
So all I can say is that I'm very hopeful that this trailer is not representative of the quality that we're going to get in theaters.
Sure.
That's what I'll say. Because if it is, it's gonna feel like a cheap knockoff.
Yeah. I think what's really tough is, when Fury Road came out, there really weren't expectations. So not only was it incredible in its own right, but it just blew the fucking doors down, with just how out of nowhere it was. This is a tough act to follow. And I kind of agree with you. I mean, I don't think this trailer looked bad, but how do you replicate that? This does feel like in some ways it's trying to replicate it in a way that is maybe not going to feel as fresh or inventive or as exciting. And it's kind of just like, well, if it's not going to be able to generate the sort of excitement and hype that Fury Road did, what is this going to do that justifies its own existence separately?
It almost
doesn't
looks
just feel like it's riding the coattails. That isn't just a I don't think this looks like a cash in. It is George Miller coming back to do it. It's clearly not the studio being like, oh, Fury Road is super successful, let's pump out a new one in a year. It's obviously not that. But it doesn't seem to quite have the same spark at the same time either.
It kind of feels
so
like
far. Maybe it's the cast change. I don't know.
What's that movie that was kind of animated for? It was animated for the whole thing, and then Alita.
Oh yeah.
I got Alita Battle Angel vibes from this.
Okay.
I got, what else did I get? There was a sequence where Chris Hemsworth's riding on like a chariot, which is like being pulled by a motorcycle. Yeah. I'm like, okay, that's Mad Max. Like I'm here for that.
That's it. There are moments in this trailer that do feel real, that feel like the Fury Road style of filmmaking that we, that was incredible. And then there are moments that don't feel like that. And I think that's where it gives you pause and you think, is this gonna deliver? Is it, hey,
we'll see.
We'll see. I'm excited for it, but I don't have unrestrained enthusiasm for it. A little bit of skepticism, right?
Yeah.
Can George Miller do it again? I don't know. He's capable of it, but I don't know if he will. And this trailer doesn't definitively, get me locked into full on hype mode. Nothing will disappoint me. This is going to be incredible. It's like, there's a chance There's a chance that this is not only obviously not as good as Fury Road, which is perhaps an impossible bar to clear. There's a chance this just isn't that good in its own right, and that's the most disappointing outcome. It's like, hey, you make a movie that's not as good as Fury Road, you've made every movie in existence almost. I don't know. We'll see. Comes out in May 24th. Is when it comes out, and that gives us half a year to revisit Fury Road. I think we're gonna, if nothing else, we're gonna fucking revel in rewatching Fury Road for the first time in a few years.
If it gives us a reason to rewatch Fury Road, I can't.
And that will be an accomplishment in its own right. And hey, if it's bad, we'll commiserate, and if it's good, we'll celebrate. All right, we'll make it work. It'll be good. We're gonna have a good time. So yeah, that's Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. And next up, hey, we're back. The Boys, season 4. Official teaser trailer. Coming out 2024. I don't think they actually set a full-on date yet. But we got some footage in here. And when you know it, I think it looks like more of The Boys. Which, as we have now established, I think by virtue of talking about it a little bit in the Boys Mexico headline, that's a good thing. We like the mainline series of The Boys. So more of the same is not a bad thing. But yeah, any other thoughts for you on this teaser?
No, it looks like it
speak for you, but
perpetuates the story forward. I did like the Roman Empire references in there because I've been writing this ancient history kind of train for a a little bit.
And of course, you think about it every day anyway. But maybe this was the reminder you needed today.
That's so funny. On a side note, Sarah's dad always gives me a hard time. Did you think about the Roman Empire today? I was like, as a matter of fact, I did. And I always have to tell him about the thing that I thought of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for Christmas, I got him a poster with a Marcus Aurelius quote in it, and it's got like a little Marcus Aurelius bust in like this picture. And he's gonna have to. I told him, or I'm gonna tell him he's gonna have to hang it up in his office, so he has to think about the Roman Empire every day. But anyways, it's more of the same. Looks great. Looks like it perpetuates the story in a good way. The Boys season 3 left us in a pretty interesting area, and
definitely,
I'm excited to see where the story continues. I'm there for it. So
yeah, agreed. It's more of The Boys, and that's a good thing. Looks like we got some new soups coming in. Who knows what their deal is? They probably suck because that's all the superheroes in this universe. Jeffrey Dean Morgan is here. What's he doing? He's making fun of the boys and their name. He doesn't like that. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. It's my bold prediction is that the boys will continue to be good. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more from it. Looking forward to it's very fresh for me having finished season 3 so recently. It's just like, oh yeah, if I could just like dive right in, that'll be fine. But of course, we still have probably many months to wait at this point.
Oh
so, yeah, so it goes. All right, well, short and sweet. Might as well leave it there. How about we got two video game, at least by my count, video game adaptation things to talk about on this episode in terms of trailers. And the first of which is coming to Prime Video April 12th. It is an adaptation of the video game Fallout, or at least the video game series Fallout. So it's coming from producers Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, the creators of Westworld. Westworld was unceremoniously canceled and pulled off of HBO, and now it's on like fucking IMDb TV or whatever dumb fucking bullshit that WB's doing with their original shows at this point. But it's a radioactive wasteland sort of thing. Seems to be very clearly inspired by the Bethesda iterations of Fallout. Fallout 3, New Vegas, and all that good stuff. I guess there's more recent games that I'm for. I think 4 came out probably at least 5 years ago now. There was one that was like an online one that everyone hated, 76 or something like that.
Oh yeah, shit, I forgot about that.
What about 5 through 75? I don't know. I didn't play those either. But anyway, what do you think about Fallout, the TV show? Does this look good to you?
I think the trailer looked better than what I thought it was going to look like.
I agree. This looks, yeah.
It can still be shit. But I think the bar, I set the bar pretty low for this once it was announced. I think that there's a reason why there's a following to these games, especially New Vegas. New Vegas is supposed to be like one of the best written games there ever was. So I think there's definitely, there's a story to be told in every property, right? You can craft a good story around a lot of different things. So Fallout's no exception to that. I think it does look it looks interesting for sure. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Will you be in on this day one when it drops?
This is probably a wait for reviews and see if it intrigues me
Fair
sort
enough.
of show.
Yeah.
But I do think that, as I said, I agree. Definitely looks better than expected. I think, Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, this being kind of the next show from the creators of Westworld makes me actually a little bit more excited about it than I would be otherwise. Hey, there's another video game adaptation we're going to talk about soon. And that had its own problems, right? And so obviously video game adaptations, historically speaking, are quite shit. But I think we've sort of finally turned the corner, right? I feel like there have been things that have been successful. Now I'm blanking. I'm like, well, Mario was fine. I don't know if that's really like the best example to.
Mario was far better than what it had any right to be.
But right, it was better than the last time they did a Mario adaptation, right? And in terms of bringing it to the screen. So yeah, I just kind of feel like the Sonic movies have been fun. I wouldn't say they've been great, but they've been fun. And the second one I think was I think I enjoyed more than the first one. But I don't know. It just feels
Creed
like
was excellent.
Oh yeah, that's a classic of the genre as well. Uncharted, lest we forget.
Oh my gosh.
I asked this question.
Last of Us. Last of Us is the one.
That's the golden standard, right? The Last of Us is like, hey, you can do this right and not completely fuck it. Yes, that is the correct answer. Thank you. I asked Anna this question yesterday, and she didn't give me a satisfying answer. So I'm going to ask you: what year do you think the Uncharted film came out? I don't even know that you saw it, to be fair. But what
I did.
Year do you
I
think
actually
that movie
watched
came
it. When did I watch it? I think I watched it when the baby was born.
Oh shit! I don't think you talked about it on the pod then. Anyway, it was real good and clearly very memorable. But anyway,
I feel like that had to come out probably 18 or 19.
All right, that's a good answer. Came out last year.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I think I posited the theory that it's because when Sony makes a movie, it feels like it's trapped from like a decade earlier. You know what I mean? Like Sony makes a movie, it's instantly dated at least 5 years backwards because for some reason everything they make just feels old. It feels, all their Marvel movies are like, oh, this is an early 2000s Marvel movie. Like that's the tone and feel that we've strived for and managed to pull off without fail. Anyway, bringing it back to Fallout. This is how we get to 4 hours, is we get into these diversions, these tangents. It looks like, hey, just kind of make it look like the video game. I don't know how like this is doing it in terms of the story. You know, there's like this fucking guy without a nose, which is Walton Goggins, which I like that's pretty cool. I like that. That sounds pretty cool. But you got like the vaults, the outfits look kind of like it looks like the game. The games, I guess, rather.
It's
and
bloody,
it's like, and yeah, you got a dog running around, and dog's got a gnawed off hand and in his mouth, and it's like, all right.
It looks like they actually,
by all accounts,
it
looks
like
the people that made this
least
played the fucking games. Right. Like that's like almost like the bare minimum that you would ask for a long, long time. And now we're hopefully above that a little bit, but this feels like it's at least hitting that mark. My final comment is, this is not an insult. I'm not intending it as an insult, but the woman that is the main character in this, I don't know the character's name. The actress's name is Ella Purnell. If they ever need to recast Alita Battle Angel, which you already mentioned in this episode, my God, this woman is like the real life version of that character.
I have to look her up now.
So it was the one thing I was noticing. I was like, man, this woman has the biggest eyes I've ever seen in my life, like straight up anime style. And I'm just, if they ever want to do it in a way that they don't need to use CG in every single sequence, that's the way to do it. Basically the animated version brought to life in a crazy sort of way. And again, not an insult. She's certainly not unattractive or anything like that, but big fucking eyes. Very, very impressive. Stood out to me, clearly. I don't know if you agree or disagree based on
I'm looking, I'm scrubbing, trying to find a...
All right. Let's see what you think, and then we'll move on.
Oh, yeah. When she's sitting across from the Cyclops. She does have big eyes.
Yeah, just stood out to me. I don't know what to say, but anyway, we can move on.
Yeah,
we're gonna do a little something else, and then we'll go back to the other video game one. House of the Dragon Season 2. We got a teaser for it, an official teaser for it. Now this is dated for summer of 2024.
Shit quality too. Wow, what's HBO doing with their fucking YouTubes?
I don't know.
Did you notice that?
What is HBO /Max /WB doing with anything? I mean, that's the overriding question that we have with every fucking thing they do. No, they don't. I mean, they seem content to just torpedo their own. I mean, literally, Max as a service is worse than fucking HBO Max was. It's like, look, we made it better, but also we made it completely worse at the same time, and it kind of works like shit. It doesn't really work that well, actually.
I think it's funny when there's...
And also, we're going to charge you twice as much, and fuck you.
And we're going to put beta things, like there's up in the top right, you can look at news, beta. Come on, man. The fuck are you doing? It's a streaming app. We've had streaming apps for like a decade. Like, what do we need beta for? It's frustrating.
Anyway.
Disney's doing the same thing. We tried to watch Elf the other night, and it's Hulu products and Disney app are under beta. And like we couldn't get past the first ad. It's like, oh my gosh, it's unbearable. Anyways, I digress.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on the Disney Plus Hulu thing, but we'll get to that later. House of the Dragon Season 2, shit, trailer quality of visual quality of the trailer. Did you think that the content of it was also shit, or
no? I thought it looked very compelling.
I think when we talked about Season 1 of the House of the Dragon, you were, I think, the most ambivalent on it. But
I was. I grinded it out.
But I don't think any of us thought it was bad. Either.
Monotonous kind of tone to the whole thing. But I did watch it. Like I tried to beat it out in 1 week, and I did, and it was just really heavy.
Made you resent it a little bit more, perhaps.
Yeah, at the very least, I think it would have benefited from like a week between episodes to like let everything digest, because it all just felt kind of samey.
Well, then, based on Season 1, based on this teaser, are you back in for another season? And if so, will you maybe try to do it on a week to week basis? Where are you at with this?
Yeah, I'll be on it day one. I will watch it week to week. And depending on the quality of the episodes, I might wait 2 weeks. You know what I mean? I might wait to try to grind it out depending on how it feels. This
do
does
Loki
seem
with it,
like
but don't let the 10 episodes build and then burn through it in a week sort of thing.
No, I can't quite do that. It's too much content. But if you have, this looks like it's a little bit more energetic than the first season.
Well, I mean, the first one had a lot of setup and had the time skip. This is like war has started.
Yeah.
Like shit is popping off. I think there's not going to be as much jumping around. I think it is just going to be full on conflict, So, yeah.
Like that other one, it was like,
like
if you watch The Crown in 1 week, watch season 1 of The Crown in 1 week, but like, I don't know anything about The Crown, but like the princess. No,
but that would be a lot.
The princess
because that jumps around a lot.
Oh, does it? Okay, so it jumps around too. Okay, so
yes. There's a lot that goes on. The fucking king dies in like the first 3 episodes. Not really a spoiler for The Crown because hey, Elizabeth has to ascend to the throne at some point, so it happens pretty quickly, that's a show that I can't watch more than an episode at a time. Because and I probably would feel the same way about House of the Dragon, and in the same way that I probably felt the same way about Game of Thrones, like 2-3 episodes max a given night, like that's even pushing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
3 is just two should be the limit.
Yeah, two's probably the good. Like anything more than that, you're pushing it. But
yeah,
it looks good.
Anyways, yeah, it looks good. Yeah. It looks exciting. I'm excited about it.
I'm very excited about it. I think that there's a very, very good chance, by virtue of this kind of having a set beginning, middle, and end from obviously coming from Fire and Blood, coming from the story that George kind of wrote in textbook form, and the fact that this will be shorter than 7-8 seasons. I have a good feeling that this series as a whole will supplant the original Game of Thrones, which is uncommon for spinoffs. I think a lot of people think that Better Call Saul is at least as good as Breaking Bad, and I haven't watched any of it. I can't say that for sure. But I think that this is one where, and it's absolutely Game of Thrones' fault for fucking it in the end, clearly. But hey, if this can stick the landing, this is now the better version of Game of Thrones almost, which is kind of crazy to think about, especially because we were at such a dire low point with the end of Game of Thrones that even when they were making this, it's like, fuck off, I don't want it. I don't want this. No, thank you. So, yeah, I've done a big 180 on the whole Song of Ice and Fire verse recently, and I'm pumped for season 2. I'm really looking forward to it. Definitely going to be a day one, week to week kind of show for me. For Anna and I think we both really loved that first season. So, the big question though is on February 8th, will you return to Halo the series when season 2 arrives on Paramount Plus? We got a first look at it, first look trailer as they call it. What do you think? You and I, the absolute dumb fucks, watched all of season 1. We grinded our way through it. We made it to the end. We made it out on the other side. How are you going to be Stockholm syndromed into making your way back to season 2? Do you think there's anything here for you? What do you think? I'm curious to hear what your answer is, based on this trailer. Let's start there.
I don't know, man.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know.
There's no wrong answer.
Like,
I'm not going to make you watch it.
I'm
just
hopeful
for the purposes
that
of covering
they
this or
turn
anything.
I really want them to turn it around. I can't think of a more cinematic FPS. Like,
really, yeah. There's absolutely no reason that a Halo series should be bad. It definitely could be good.
There seems to be a lot of focus of Master Chief out of the helmet, which was
we did get quite a bit of that in season 1. I think we got some Master Chief ass and some Master Chief fucks a little bit in the first season, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, we did, which we definitely don't need. We don't need that.
You didn't ask for it, did you?
No, but there is a Halo. There is a Halo.
We do see a Halo. That's the first promising thing in this trailer, which is the last thing that we see. It's like, oh yeah, that's why it's called Halo. Interesting.
So, and then I started to try to remember if this was a prequel to the games or is it just a retelling of the story, and I couldn't remember.
I think that it's its own thing.
Okay.
But I think that a lot of what we saw in the first season was kind of pre the events of the first game. So I think that theoretically it's probably getting more into like probably the things that you and I would have played, story-wise from the first Halo games. So it might be getting to the point where it's just like, oh yeah, I recognize this thing. This is a thing that I,
if we can get there,
liked from the games.
I think that and it depends on how they choose to tell the story, because they told it all sorts of fucked up. They could get Master Chief out of the suit. They could spend episodes focused on this other random fucking character made for the show that has nothing to do with anything else, and we could do it that way. But they made a second. They made a second season.
They did.
Have any of the creatives changed? Are they still on board, or do you know? I
don't know offhand. As far as I'm aware, it's the same. But I don't know that for a fact. So,
well, I hope that they listen to the criticisms. I will watch episode 1.
You'll give it a chance.
And depending on how many episodes
they get one episode to give you something. I think that's a fair take. That's maybe a reasonable way to do it. Looks like it's a new showrunner. It's a new showrunner for season 2.
Okay.
So there are some creative changes, which maybe does bode well. I can't say that it's going to be it might just be a lateral move. It might be a net positive, net negative. I don't know.
You need to get the people. You need to get the people of the Expanse on Halo. That's what you need.
That's an idea right there. They did not do that, but that's certainly an idea. That would make a successful Halo, I think.
Anyways, first episode, I'm there. Let's see what happens.
All right. I think I'm gonna let you take the reins and see if I'm gonna let you.
That's what you did the last time you fuck. That's what happened.
Yeah. Hey, but then I watched it even though I knew it was gonna get bad.
Yeah, you did.
It was the Flash all over. Well, I guess the Flash was Halo all over again, of just being like, it can't be that bad. Oh no, it was. This did not convince me, is what I'll say. I mean, it
looks more of the same kind of.
It looks like more of the same. And honestly, I think,
but there is a Halo.
There is a Halo. That's the only thing in this that looked, and the Covenant with the fucking sword slicing around was like, okay, that looks like that. I mean, I feel like in the first season, didn't we get like a big FPS bit for one point where it was actually the first person thing? I was like, all right, it was goofy as shit, but I like it. At least it feels like they're trying to do something video gamey and sort of related to the source material with it, instead of Master Chief fucking.
I just remember like one time there was like this, they were in dire straits and waiting for Master Chief to come, and he finally came down and kicked ass. And it's like, oh, that's it.
Where was this the whole time?
That's all we need, I
think that's my recollection of season 1 is it was kind of fucking boring for like 95% of it.
Yeah.
Like it kind of just felt like really, really plotting. And there was the occasional moment of just like, oh, cool, Master Chief Spartan type shit, and then everything else was just insipid dialogue, or like I said, whole episodes focused on side characters. And I don't care about this person. You cannot convince me to care about them. And I didn't see that character this entire trailer. I don't know if she's in. I think they might have. The new showrunner was just like, everyone hated that fucking character. She's just off doing her own thing now. We're done there. We're going to bring in another main character and see if people hate her too. I don't know. Anyway, I'll let you take the dive, and you can report back in February or whenever you feel like it. You don't have to do it right away. It's totally
I hope that I catch it on day 1, because if I don't catch it on day 1 and there's 2 episodes, then I'll be happening. Like, that's what happened on the first Halo. There's 3 episodes. Okay, let me watch the 3. Well, episode 2 was pretty okay. Maybe
you got too invested to the point where you couldn't back out.
Yeah, that's it. Problem. Maybe it gets better.
Yeah,
there's a sprinkle of good shit in here. Let me just stick. There's
one little thing per episode. It's just like, yeah, I think maybe they're getting it. No, not quite there yet. Maybe next time. No, maybe next time. And then it was over. And you're like, damn it.
Yeah.
Where did the time go?
It actually makes you very, very upset. Anyways, fucking Halo.
Anyways, well. Before
fucking Halo, I can't think of another show maybe more upset than Halo.
No, I mean Game of Thrones, but that was a little that predates it by a few years. So, coming in January 26th. So before you turn on Halo on your Paramount Plus, you can go over to Apple TV Plus and watch the 9-part series event of Masters of the Air, which is basically the third series, kind of in this vein of covering characters in World War II, following the likes of Band of Brothers and the Pacific. So it's not specifically related to those. It's not a third season or anything like that, but it is the same producers doing the same kind of thing. But obviously following something a little bit different, which is to say, the airmen in World War II. So you got Austin Butler and others in this. Produced by Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks, and company. Cary Fukunaga directed a little bit of this. So what do you think? What do you think about Masters of the Air? Anything for you?
It didn't really catch me.
Okay.
Didn't get me too pumped. Those people that you listed there kind of get me pumped up about it a little bit. I've never seen Band of Brothers or what's the other one?
The Pacific. I have not either, but both are apparently quite. I think Band of Brothers particularly. I think people like this is a really, really great limited series.
I've heard of both. Have seen neither, so it's hard for me to get excited about it. This to me seems like more Austin Butler train. Definitely. The people putting out the trailer were definitely pumping the Austin Butler.
I'm a pilot in World War II. And when I'm done with the war, I'm gonna sing some songs for some folks.
Yeah, he's like leaning up against his airplane with a fucking toothpick. Hey,
you ain't nothing but a hound. That sort of thing.
It's like I can't.
It is really hard to.
Choose to accept this award. I'm sorry, I'm talking to my Elvis Presley accent. Get out of here, Austin Butler.
Is that motherfucker gonna ruin Dune Part 2 for us? We'll find out. Talk about it, but.
Hey, Paul Atreides. Hey, you want to take a fight in this Coliseum?
Yeah. All right, so not digging it a whole lot. Probably not.
It looked super CG.
Okay.
The airplane fights and stuff. I didn't really get a whole lot from the characters. I got a little bit, but I didn't get a whole lot. It just, I don't know. Seemed kind of like a shallow kind of thing. But, I haven't seen the other stuff. I've heard of the other movies, or the other shows, I should say. And those are quite good from what I hear. So maybe there's something there. But visually, and from the way that they chose to, portray the project in this trailer, I would say it didn't really get me too excited.
Yeah, I think that, for something that is obviously a period piece, the whole thing kind of had a glossy appearance to it.
Yeah.
Very modern, which obviously, I mean, I know it was made in the 1940s, but I feel like usually there's an effort to kind of make it feel more period
dated,
appropriate.
Yeah.
There's not fucking modern cars or anything being driven around or, anything like obviously anachronistic about it, but it almost does look kind of too clean and too pretty for what at least what my brain thinks like it should look like.
Well, we're talking about a period piece movie tonight.
Correct, which I don't think has that issue.
Right.
To make that point. And honestly, that's partially why I included it here. It's like, I think this is kind of probably on the outskirts of our usual radar and types of the things that we usually watch. But, I'm down for a World War II period piece, obviously, here and there. Totally. Definitely could work. But yeah, something about it just doesn't quite click in the way that I would have hoped that it would. I think before I watch that, I would go back and watch Band of Brothers, is quite honestly how I feel about it.
I very much feel the same way about it.
So maybe it has that, I was like, oh, maybe I should watch Band of Brothers. Maybe that would be a really cool thing to do. But then if I watch Band of Brothers, I'm probably not going to watch a 9 fucking episode thing about Masters of the Air, Like, I'm probably not watching those 2 projects in quick succession. I just can't imagine that. So I don't know. For me, it's hey, if the reviews are really good, maybe I fire it up. But I don't know. Yeah, it didn't quite. I don't think it looked bad. I just don't know if it's really my cup of tea. You know, just based on how it looks. So sounds like we're on the same page. Probably won't be covering it in January, is what it sounds like to me. Which is fine because I still don't actually have Apple TV Plus. So hey, makes it easy on me. All right, well, we have one last trailer, and then we can finally talk about Godzilla Minus One. But first, we must talk about Godzilla, the American Godzilla.
Godzilla times Kong.
Godzilla times Kong. What does that equal? It equals the new empire. That's what it equals, apparently.
So Godzilla Minus One and Godzilla times Kong.
Why is everything in Godzilla an equation? I don't get
it. Anyways.
So Godzilla times Kong, the new empire. We got an official trailer for it. It's coming to theaters next year because, we got a Japanese Godzilla this year, so now we get an American Godzilla next year, so they don't directly compete with one another or something like that. April is when this is coming out, April 12th, to be specific. It's continuing the MonsterVerse. Obviously, we talked about it a bit earlier, but, starting with that 2014 Gareth Edwards Godzilla, moving into King of the Monsters, moving into, well, I guess Kong Skull Island was in there somewhere. And then, we had Godzilla versus Kong just a couple of years ago. And now we're getting the sequel to Godzilla versus Kong, Godzilla times Kong. And I guess the answer to the equation of Godzilla times Kong is you get a baby Kong and you get a big Kong-like villain. But it's not Kong, but
red
it's like a different
orangutan?
type of ape. Yeah, it's like an orangutan, big fucker.
Who looks like a video game villain? Like he looks he looks weird.
Yeah. Well, everyone's got a little bit of a makeover. I mean,
yeah,
Kong himself is sporting. Kong is sporting like a fucking mechanical glove. He's got like a power glove thing in the early part of the trailer.
Yeah.
Godzilla is fucking pink, purple pink kind of thing. Which I actually think, I'm not sure if it
looks pretty cool.
It looks pretty cool for Godzilla specifically. It's definitely a weird sort of design, but it does look pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm a sucker for it, and we'll talk about it in this movie very shortly. I'm a sucker for just the tail lighting up bit by bit, build into Godzilla.
Absolutely,
just
fucking charging up the charge up, dude. Absolutely.
Oh my god, dude, that's the most hype shit in the world. Obviously it's awful. You know what I mean? Except for here it's hype shit because Godzilla's a good guy. Not so much in Minus One, but we'll get there.
It's still hype though. Still says, "Oh shit."
Shit is about to go down.
Oh shit.
Because that's bad news for everyone on screen. Bad news. This movie looks fucking weird as shit. I mean, I don't really know what to think about it.
Well, at first I thought it was an animated movie. I thought I was watching an animated movie. But it's not an animated movie. It's an animated movie.
It's like The Lion King, technically animated, but
it's just got a bridge too far. It's maybe it's only if it existed in a vacuum where Godzilla Minus One wasn't a movie, would I have been hyped about this?
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe I would.
Tell me.
I think I'd say the same thing. I think I'd say why does King Kong have a glove? Maybe I'd say
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Like what the fuck's up with
I don't have
what I would say. We established like this alternate area where there's dinosaurs and shit in the previous movie, and that was cool.
Right.
I remember liking the previous movie.
It's like under the earth, right? There's like it's
like a Hollow Earth
under
thing.
the earth.
Hollow Earth theory.
Hollow Earth, that's it. So yeah, they made the Hollow Earth theory into an actual thing where the Kongs and other Titans or whatever live.
Yeah, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Totally ridiculous. Very, very different from obviously what Minus One sets
The last one
be.
had like a Mecha Godzilla, right?
It did, and yeah. So just to kind of go into my thoughts on this, it's like, where do you go from Godzilla versus Kong? You have Godzilla and Kong fighting each other, and then Batman v Superman style, you have them team up at the end to fight motherfucking Mecha Godzilla, and it's like, how do you top that? And like the answer is like big orangutan. I'm like, okay,
yeah.
Is that hype?
It's
in the same way that Godzilla versus Kong was. I don't think so.
No. Yeah, they already. It's really Ghidorah.
Not.
Ghidorah is the natural answer. Have an alien.
I think that's the problem. Is they went
they
went 0 to 1,000 super early, and and now it's like they ran out of ideas, and it's like, all right, now you got Kong but bigger. All right.
Okay,
I mean, Godzilla already beat up regular Kong. Sort of.
but this orangutan's got like blood on his face and shit, you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
And I don't know what's up with
about
that
this
baby
one.
monkey, but I'm not buying it.
Yeah, that doesn't look very good.
I have to say I'm not
impressed.
Yeah.
I want you to be impressed, is what I would say about this, Mr. Sean Connery style.
Like we've fallen a ways from the Gareth Edwards Godzilla.
Yeah, I mean, this whole franchise has gone full tilt into being basically. This looks like a Transformers movie. I mean,
that's exactly what I thought when I had a couple
the
wines. The
motherfucker's wearing a Transformer on his hand.
When I watched the trailer the first time, I had a couple wines. Okay, and when I saw Godzilla's hand come out of the thing, and it was the Transformer.
Oh,
it was the
another
glove,
Transformers movie.
I was like, oh fuck! I clicked on the wrong thing. I clicked on a Transformers trailer.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case. You know, I don't know. It just it didn't sell me. It doesn't look very good. That's what I'll say.
No, I don't think it looks very good. And it's especially stark in the context of what we're talking about on this episode. Japan has set the bar at a certain level. We'll say that. Look, these are very different movies, obviously going for very, 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 very different sensibilities. One is maybe more impressive to our interest, more than the other, so.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it.
I had fun with Godzilla vs. Kong. I probably will see this movie, but I don't have high hopes, is how I feel about it based on this trailer.
They're different. You can't put the two in the same conversation, that's for sure.
And for all the shit I said about Godzilla Minus One being a clunky title, I actually do think it's better than Godzilla times Kong: The New Empire. I quite honestly, I think that Godzilla Minus One has an elegance to it in comparison.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
that's that.
That is indeed that. Are you ready to talk about Godzilla Minus One finally?
Let's talk about it.
Well, let's first talk about the fact that you can see it in theaters right now, if you so desire.
Can't see it in premium formats, though.
You cannot see it in premium formats. I missed the boat on it myself. So
very unfortunate. I'm very upset about that.
I know. I had a chance to see it in IMAX. Wouldn't have been able to make it, and then that was that. So I had to watch it in a little rinky-dink regular auditorium. A little underwhelming for this kind of movie, I will say. But hey, it is what it is. At least they extended the theatrical run, so hopefully by the time this regular episode is up, it's still playing in theaters. If not, I'm sure there'll be a streaming or VOD solution at some point in the near future. But it's doing pretty well. We'll get to that, obviously. But anyway, Godzilla Minus One, written and directed by Takashi Yamazaki. It stars Ryonosuke Kamiki, Minami Hamabe, Yuki Yamada, Munetaka Aoki, Hidetaka Yoshioka, Sakura Ando, Kuranosuke Sasaki, Mio Tanaka, and Sei Nagatani.
You're a fucking badass dude. Good on you.
I wouldn't say that.
Then you pulled him off. You pulled it off
got
really
all
well.
those
Good job.
Completely 100% right. But I think that I didn't completely botch it. Let's put it that way. Sort of alluded to it, obviously, talking about the meaning behind the title, but in this movie, post-war Japan is at its lowest point when a new crisis emerges in the form of a giant monster baptized in the horrific power of the atomic bomb.
Oh.
And that's Godzilla. In case
what a way to put that.
Baptized
Baptized in the horrific power of the atomic bomb.
I can't say that I wrote that myself. But yeah, it's pretty fucking cool. Pretty cool way of looking at that. Let's do a box office breakdown for this, if you don't.
Wah, 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 wah. Wah, 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 wah.
Box office breakdown.
All right, so Godzilla Minus One, doing very well in everywhere. It's doing very well in everywhere. But particularly in North America, we can say that it's doing quite well. It's in its opening weekend made about $11 million, which was, only third for the opening weekend, for compared to what else came along, was released alongside it. I think Beyonce came out the same weekend. But it is the most successful opening for a live act. It's set a record for the United States opening weekend for a live-action Japanese film. So set a brand new record for that. I think subsequently The Boy and the Heron made a little bit more in its opening weekend, which obviously it's animated, so it's not exactly the same thing, but Japanese cinema doing really well in America right now. So definitely worth noting. Biggest debut for a foreign film in the United States this year. Already is the most successful live-action Japanese movie in history in America.
Wow.
I think
Fucking
it was
Godzilla, dude.
I think it was originally only supposed to run in theaters for a week, and then they extended it for another week. And I think at this point they said, as long as people are seeing it and it's making money, we're going to keep it in theaters. Which I think, hey, that gives everyone hopefully a window to see it. If it's something that's maybe worth seeing. I don't know. We'll talk about that. But it's doing well. It had a pretty big debut in Japan, unsurprisingly. Made some good money in IMAX. I think. For at least I guess the 1 week that it did play in IMAX anyway. Overall was it's been very successal, I think.
It's got the best Rotten Tomatoes of the series, I think, of any Godzilla movie.
It's got to be up there if nothing else. We're coming off of I think was it the last Japanese Godzilla film was Shin Godzilla, right? I mean,
that's right.
That was a pretty successful one. I think at least critically, obviously not to the same level of box office success as what you're seeing with Minus One, but Japan's on a pretty good Godzilla run, it would seem. Shin Godzilla was a fucking good movie, and maybe Minus One is too. But I'm gonna leave it for you to tell the listeners whether maybe Godzilla Minus One is worth their time, is a good movie, okay. All those things. What'd you think? What'd you think about Godzilla Minus One?
So I'll try to boil it down quickly. I know we've been here for a little bit, over a couple hours now. But this is what we've got. Maybe not over a couple hours, maybe just a little shy of a couple hours. Anyways.
Little under.
So I asked my wife, Sarah, if she would like to go see The Boy and the Heron or Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave her the option, neither. Maybe she doesn't want to go see a movie at all. She has previously seen the American Godzillas, and she knew how they characterized Godzilla in these movies, these American movies, where they make him more of like an anti-hero or a sympathetic hero or something like that.
Yeah.
She liked Godzilla. So, anyways, gave her the option. She said, "Boy and the Heron's an anime." And she said, "Hell no, I'm not gonna go watch an anime." I said, "Okay." You gonna go watch Godzilla? And she says, "I guess I'll go watch Godzilla." I said, "Well, if you go, I'll sweeten the deal. We'll go to Olive Garden if you go with me to watch the movie."
Unlimited breadsticks.
Unlimited breadsticks, soup and salad.
Right. Yeah. Pretty sweet deal.
And she said yes. So we went to go see this movie, and she said she liked it. This is the second movie that she's watched that's been in completely, subtitles.
Right. Japanese language, English subtitles.
The first one that she watched was All Is Quiet on the Western Front, which was an incredible movie. And now she's seen Godzilla.
Not Japanese, to be clear, but
not Japanese, but
not English.
But not English, exactly. And she liked it.
Okay.
So, this movie puts the focus not on Godzilla, but it puts a focus on Godzilla, don't get me wrong, but
we see more of Godzilla than we saw in the 2014 Gareth Edwards.
That much is very true. But this is a character-driven movie with historical importance to what it is to be a Japanese man in the Japanese military in World War II, and what it is to have honor and all of these things. Like it's a potent movie for a lot of different reasons. The director's gone out so far as to say as that Godzilla is a metaphor for external events that you have no control over. And his direct comparison was COVID. But he's also said that, where the monsterverse, the American monsterverse puts Godzilla's, he's just an epic monster. Whereas the Japanese kaiju of Godzilla, like this interpretation of Godzilla, is much more of like a godlike figure, malevolent, and just he just doesn't humans are beneath
man.
Godzilla, right?
Yeah.
And that is the vibe that you pick up, right? In this movie. By all means necessary, get rid of fucking Godzilla. By any means necessary, we need to stop what the fuck is happening. Like, it's dire. I can't think of I could think of quite a few dire movies. None of which are really monster movies. But, like, the somber tone of this film and like the bleak little glimmer of hope that you get in this movie, like it defines hope. It defines what it is to be beaten in the ground. It defines courage. Like it defines a whole lot of different. It just defines a whole lot of different words. And it's man. I think the acting is awesome. I think the score is absolutely incredible. There's a Godzilla theme in here, and I think it's the original Godzilla theme.
It's the full on original theme. It's a very strong example in support of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Straight up bringing it back. Especially like the first time you get like real full on big Godzilla terror unfolding.
Yeah,
it just brings it right out, and it's just front and center, unabashedly Godzilla, the Godzilla theme, and it just works so perfectly. It's awesome.
Although every time the Godzilla theme would play, I could only ever think of it to drop into the Simon Says beat by what's his name? I sent it to you, Pharaoh Monk. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
Oh, you just have to listen to it. Just listen to it. Tell me if you.
All right.
I sent it to you in the thing.
I'll give it a listen. Maybe not right this second, but
it goes.
I guess unless you want me to. Okay.
And it's like it like goes up into hip hop. It's every time I always expected it to.
Okay.
And then when I got out of the movie theater, I was like, what the fuck song am I thinking of? Like, it's got the Godzilla theme in it, and I didn't know it had the Godzilla theme in it. Anyways.
Oh, man, that's funny.
It's by, the song's called Simon Says. Came out in 99. Anyways. Yeah. So, like, this movie of this monster movie, which is supposed to be a simple, just entertaining thing, is this complex weave of just like, man, of just struggle. What it is to struggle against things that you really have no control over. And then until you find like the courage to do it, to do something about it. Like, I don't know if what I can do will make a difference, but fuck it. I mean, who else is going to do it? Nobody else is going to do it. Right. I guess I got to do something, And then they do something. And we'll talk about the something that they do.
We'll get into that, sure.
But it's a very human experience in this movie, which I think is interesting because the kind of Godzillas that we've been exposed to here lately have been, well, this giant monster's kind of like fighting for us. Like he's fighting for these, he's just fighting for this kind of balance.
Right, and also he's fighting for us, but he's fighting this big ape, or he's fighting a mecha Godzilla, or he's fighting a three-headed dragon monster thing, or even in the first Godzilla, when he is kind of the protector, he's fighting these fucking, creatures, it's always Godzilla versus big monster thing. Like, that's even from that first movie, it's kind of been that.
It's not been Godzilla versus us.
It's not Godzilla versus city, versus skyscrapers, and Godzilla says, I'm going to win this battle. I'm gonna fucking
atomic breath the fucking capital. Poof, 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 poof,
right.
Poof. Yeah, man. Just completely devastating. And they man. Takashi Yamazaki, This guy just he just has a vision for Godzilla.
Yeah.
And he fucking nailed it. I think everything harmoniously kind of comes together to kind of portray this force of nature on a dire town, like a dire city that can't take anymore, and somehow they get pushed back and they take more of it.
They have to. They don't have a choice in the matter.
They don't have a choice,
They're going from 0 to -1.
And it just, I think it speaks volumes of what we as people are capable of. I think thematically this movie is very potent. I think thematically this is a very potent movie, and it fucking delivers on all fronts. I think it's creatively written. I think it gives all the characters nuance, and there's no one on the screen that doesn't need to be there. I don't think there's any one character that's shallow or just a cardboard cutout just to be there. I think it's well acted. I think the score is incredible. Talking about the CG, we'll talk about I talked about the front of the episode. This movie does not look like it does not have special effects. But the special effects you get within the budget that they were given is incredible. And I think what they chose to focus on was super, super important. Like Godzilla looks incredible.
Yeah.
Godzilla looks like a frenzied fucking beast, right? He looks awesome. Certain things look kind of funny. Like there's the train that like lands, like they throw it. I think it's in the trailer. They throw it. Godzilla throws a train that fucking lands on top of the tracks, and that looks like very much like CG. That doesn't look like anything practical at all, and that's okay. You know what I mean? It has a softer look to it overall, or glossy. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. I don't know, but I think that once you're in it, you're in it. I think it.
Yeah. There's no point where the effects regress to a point where you're like pulled.
It's not Ant-Man. It's not Ant-Man.
No, it's or the Flash or any of those. Where it's like, and like at the end of the day, give any of those fucking studios $15 million and say again $15 million for this whole movie, right. But give them that as their visual effects budget and say go make this movie.
We'll get 10 seconds or something.
It looks 100 times worse for whatever reason. I mean, maybe there was a lot of time in post-production and that's how they got it to where it needed to be. I don't know. But I'm still blown away by how accomplished all the visual effects are. Yeah, it's not, indiscernible from real life or whatever, but it's honestly on its own merits really not that far off. And then factoring in how much money this whole film cost, which I'm sure some sizable chunk of that did go to visual effects. I still can't figure out. Maybe someone's lying about it. It's
incredible.
I don't know.
It's an incredible accomplishment. I mean, 2 in 1 year, you get the creator and you get Godzilla.
And even the creator, again, Hollywood budget or whatever, cost I don't know 6 times as much as this or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
Crazy. Ridiculous. Said it already, but it's ridiculous. It honestly is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think
I don't know how the hell he did it, but hey,
I think that's all I really got to say about it.
Okay. Yeah,
I can't. It's just. I think I'll leave it as it's surprising that we get this kind of story from Godzilla. That's what I'll say.
I think that's a good way of putting it.
You don't expect to get this type of narrative from something that's supposed to be as simple as a monster movie.
Monster movie, right? That's the simplification of it, right? Yeah. Well, and this is not an original thought that I'm coming up with. I'll say, I saw someone say basically, you take all the Godzilla out of this movie, and actually it's still a really good drama, with characters you
absolutely.
care about, and just a good post-war drama. And I think that's kind of speaking to what you're talking about, is you don't expect that out of a Godzilla movie, where you do expect the focus to be, oh, big monster, and it's like, yeah, we like big monster. Big monster is fun and it's cool and everything, and especially in that Hollywood sort of way where it's like, yeah, we're rooting for Godzilla. Like when I see fucking purple Godzilla or pink Godzilla popping off and Godzilla times Kong, I'm like, fuck yeah, beat up that big orangutan. Like, that's badass shit. Team up with Kong and his Transformers hand. And it's like, yeah, that's how we look at Godzilla. But when you turn to this movie, you care about these people, right? You're really drawn into their stories and their lives and how fucking devastated everyone's been by this war. And Godzilla is just that extra fucking gut punch to the whole country, to these characters that we see. And you're not rooting for Godzilla in this movie. Let's put it that way. I mean,
No.
There's obviously the spectacle to it, where it's just like, oh, seeing him wreck buildings is impressive in a certain sort of way. But when you're invested in these people and these characters in this movie, you're just like, oh my god, it's like gut wrenching and like heartbreaking to see just the devastation overlaid on top of the devastation, which is also overlaid on, like, because there's parts of Japan that have revitalized quicker than other parts, and then you just see it laid to waste again, and it's just like, oh my god, it's just, honestly, this movie,
never
I think,
recover. They'll never recover.
It had the closest DNA to Grave of the Fireflies to me, of just being
oh
my god. I'm not gonna say it's quite to that level of, like, Grave of the Fireflies is like one of the biggest gut punches of a movie that you could watch, where it's just truly, truly, truly heartbreaking. But this has shades of it, and it totally makes sense. I mean, obviously, the original 1954 Godzilla was born out of this nuclear age, where Japan had, you have two cities just completely fucking leveled by nuclear bombs, and a country trying to wrap their head around the devastation that their country experienced, and then they put it into this kind of movie, a decade after the fact. Here you're talking about many decades later, but those effects are still felt, and I think that you've had the benefit of time to be able to kind of, in the same way that, like, something like Oppenheimer obviously is very much reevaluating certainly the American side of that, and one man's role and bringing all that to realizing it, I guess, in terms of our actual history. When you have those decades to kind of look back on the horrors and devastations of World War II particularly, it gives you that opportunity to be very introspective and kind of use cinema as a format to dive into all of those aspects, right? And the fun thing, I say fun because obviously none of it's really fun necessarily, but the fun thing is, hey, you do it in the form of a monster movie, you do it in a Godzilla movie, and it's like, you make it a commercial package that's going to appeal to people in the way that if this is just a straight post-war, war drama, this is a 9-part Masters of the Air TV show. It's like, some people are going to watch it, but no, this kind of gives it, in the same way, again, that Oppenheimer did, that bigger level of exposure. And so it's not just, it's under the guise of a monster movie, but it's so much more, under the surface, by design, right? Oppenheimer could have been about, like, oh, there's going to be a big explosion, but, like, that's a 3-hour heady dialogue-driven piece that, the test sequence is a big deal, obviously, but it's just a point in the movie. It's not the point of the movie, So this is kind of the same way, and just offers you so much more than you might expect, certainly out of a movie like this, of this genre. And I think that the comparison is really stark when you look at it. You talk about how these characters are, they're interesting, they're deep. There's a lot going on there, and it's like, since Bryan Cranston got killed halfway through that Gareth Edwards Godzilla, there has not been a single human being in those American Godzilla movies that has been even slightly interesting. They've all been varying levels of bad, where I do not give a flying fuck about this person.
All you care about is really
I can't think of a single person. Yeah,
or Kong.
Like the monster. You're there. Kong is your sympathetic creature. Godzilla's kind of still a force of nature. You're still kind of rooting for but like, but at the same time, like, that's it. That's what you have to, that's what's there.
Those are your
like,
characters, right?
Kong you sympathize with. Godzilla, you just want to see him wreck shit and like cheer for it. You know what I mean? You don't care about the fucking people. Like, I don't care about you, Aaron Taylor Johnson. I don't. I like your dad, but Gareth Edwards said he needed to die halfway through the movie, and everyone was like, "Why? That was a mistake." And then King of the Monsters. I'm sorry, Millie Bobby Brown. I don't care about you, and I don't care about your dad either. Sorry, Kyla Chandler. I like you a lot, but I don't care about you. Godzilla versus Kong is probably the biggest. Like, like Alexander Skarsgård and Rebecca Hall and Brian Tyree Henry. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't care about any of you. I really don't. I just can't find it in me. And sorry, Dan Stevens, in the forthcoming Godzilla times Kong, I'm confident that I will not care about you. This movie made me care about these people. It is kind of really a drama first and foremost, but you got the Godzilla-y bits in there to kind of just...
It's a monster movie, man. Like,
it is a monster movie, and it's not hiding the Godzilla in the way that the Gareth Edwards one did.
Monsters are bad.
Godzilla.
Monsters are bad.
It's okay to have a big fucking dinosaur lizard thing just be a horrific force of nature. Just a wrecking ball, just a huge, looming threat, big disaster, and he's the thing that unite around of like you said, we gotta fucking kill Godzilla, whatever it takes, Yeah. Anyway, we said a lot about this movie already. I think just obviously for the budget, it's incredible, top to bottom, really, really impressive film. Actors are really good, I've dabbled in Japanese movies here and there, but I can't say that I'm familiar with any of these actors, but I thought they were all very good.
Yeah, right.
And I thought that, I don't know, the drama is really good, and just like certain things we'll get into in spoilers in terms of the specifics of like, in the same way, I will say in the same way, but sort of different way, that like Shin Godzilla was like this really, really interesting, like, look at like the failure of bureaucracy and the guise of like, what do we do about this weird fucking little thing? And then, oh shit, it's Godzilla because we fucked around for too long. That was really, really awesome in Shin Godzilla. This is totally different from that. That was like, I liked that kind of sort of boardroomy sort of thing where it's like, how do you make a really interesting Godzilla movie out of just people talking to each other in a boardroom, and somehow they fucking did it. This one is, how do you, I don't know, it's just, how do you make a movie about people living through the era of Godzilla and make it interesting? And they just fucking did it, and they did it in a potent way, like you said. So, yeah, I was very impressed by Godzilla Minus One. I wish I saw it in IMAX. I do think that would really stand to benefit from that or Dolby or something. So it is a little unfortunate that, by virtue of, I guess, probably being Japanese and not getting a huge major push, that it didn't quite have the staying power to be able to be in premium formats or anything like that a little bit longer. But maybe it's just on us for dragging our feet and not knowing about it. But it really is just kind of something that I don't want to say completely came out of nowhere, but I think the level of success that it's had has surprised, I think, a lot of people, probably the makers of the film included. But it's good. I'm glad that something like this is doing really well, and definitely worth it. Definitely deserves it. I guess that's the right way of putting that. So, can we do a consensus recommendation of saying that you should go see this in theaters?
Definitely see it in theaters. Loudest, biggest premium format you can.
Go see it in theaters ASAP. I mean, hey, Sarah liked this. Like that to me shows the level of crossover appeal.
That's right.
That something like this that you wouldn't expect, and it's kind of, it really is kind of funny because I'm like, I couldn't even get Anna to come with me, and it's like, it feels like something she would have liked. I don't know. I mean, I think we had just gone to the theater the day before. I don't think she was ready for 2 straight consecutive days at the theater, and fair enough, obviously, but yeah, no. I mean, hey, if you got to throw in an Olive Garden to sweeten the pot, throw in some breadsticks, soup and salad,
a little white
that's
wine.
What you got to do, but it's worthwhile.
Some Christmas shopping afterwards at the Target. It was a date day, is what it was.
You made it. Yeah, yeah, that's the way to do it. And honestly, just it's. I think this is a film that will surprise people. even for the most unassuming audience that doesn't really quite know what they're walking into. You're going to read subtitles, and all that stuff, but it's good. It's just north of 2 hours, but it packs a big punch, without having to do it in a 3-hour format or whatever. So, it's just something that maybe someone should have told us when we started recording podcasts, is like, hey, less is more sometimes. Less is more. I haven't learned the lesson 200 plus episodes in. That's right. And I never will.
We keep recording.
Anyway, full spoilers for Godzilla Minus One. So getting into the specifics, I guess, of the story here, our guy, Shikishima, this dude's gone through the ringer. I mean, this dude's fucking traumatized. He's got some PTSD and survivor's guilt.
And everybody is the what it is to be a suicide pilot, and like what it is to be like you will die for country.
Your literal fucking mission is to go kill yourself and service.
Even if you think it's worthless,
of this country.
Even if it's a worthless endeavor, you have amounted to death. Just kill yourself and fly your plane into this thing. And the people that blame him for not doing that is incredible. I mean, it's a Japanese thing. Obviously, we have a Western culture about us, and I think the modern culture in general is definitely different than what it used to be. There was I've listened to this podcast by Dan Carlin, I think his name is, Hardcore History. I think I've talked about it before. Mm-hmm. And he talked about a Japanese soldier that was dropped off in like the beginning of World War II on this island. And he like lived in the jungle and shit. Anyways, the fucking war ended, right? And they didn't send this guy the fucking memo that the war ended. So this guy's in the jungle in like the 80s. And like people are dying, like random people die and this and that. And they're like, what's going on? Well, this guy thinks it's in the 80s. This guy thinks he's still in World War II. And so the only way that he would step down was they had to send like his old commander or whatever into like with a megaphone, listen, this is who I am, the war is over, blah, 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 step down. And it was like this guy was living World War II life for 40 years in the fucking jungle.
Jesus Christ.
You can look that up. It's real life. I looked it up. I couldn't believe it myself. Anyways, I looked it up and it's a real thing. I wish I had like specific facts, but it's been a long time. Anyways, the Japanese mentality for World War II was just a very different thing.
Right. It's honorable to sacrifice yourself if it's in service of your country, if it's taking out enemy combatants, damaging ships,
whatever. Yeah. And this guy didn't do it, and he's got survivor's guilt, and everyone shovels it on him. You know?
No, his neighbor comes home and it's like, yeah, your parents are dead. My children are dead because of you, because you didn't do enough. And it's just like, oof. But he really does kind of get it from everywhere, and
man, right?
And
then by the end of the movie, when the guy tells him, the guy that gave him the most shit, the guy that gave him the photographs of all the people that had died because he didn't pull the trigger on Godzilla.
Right, because it's like every time he finds himself in a situation where it's like you could make a difference, he doesn't, And I'm not going to say that obviously his decision to fake that his plane wasn't working right to avoid kamikazeing himself was a bad decision, obviously.
Well, obviously it wasn't, because
but after that point,
killing Godzilla.
At the end of the day, it was worth it. It was worth it for him to have made it to that point. He lived for a reason. But yeah, no, I mean, the growth and the depth of these characters, and the arcs of these characters is really something to behold. Because for him, obviously, he's racked with guilt over that, But it is kind of for him, like for the first, I don't know, hour of this movie, maybe it really is like not just a 1-2 punch, but like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 punch of like, okay, he feigns the technical issues and goes off to that. And then wouldn't you know it, there's a little baby Godzilla at that point, a smaller version of Godzilla, I guess, at that point that, I'm not sure that the airplane guns would have done much damage to that
Absolutely
Godzilla,
not.
but we'll
Definitely
never know.
not. Yeah.
We'll never know. And certainly he still harbors the guilt for at least not even trying at that point, although he probably would have just died again had he done so, had he tried to. But yeah, I mean, he lives with that, in the first place of like, I couldn't do it. He froze, he freezes there. And then when he gets back to Tokyo, it's like, everyone's just like,
hey,
yeah, you fucking
you're
loser.
a piece of shit.
You couldn't even do what you're supposed to do, you had one job, motherfucker, and you didn't do it.
Your parents are dead. My kids are dead. Everybody's dead because
the fact
you didn't
that you're
fly
here is an insult to me.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know. The moments particularly where like throughout, because he obviously kind of he ends up in this pseudo family dynamic where he's just like none of this is real. Like, when he's just like having those like panic attacks and moments where he just feels just intense guilt, and he can't process the fact that he's still around and still living, and maybe good things are happening to him, but he feels like he doesn't deserve it.
It's really just heart-wrenching.
Yeah, that was very well done, I thought. And then obviously his actual, his role in living and surviving at the end was just the sort of thing. Because it is kind of one of those things where it's just like, all right, well, if he just ends by actually killing himself, obviously maybe in service of killing Godzilla, it's one thing, it's a noble sacrifice. Maybe he is kind of fulfilling the role that maybe he was intended to do.
It talks about the kamikaze, right? Like what it is to be a kamikaze pilot.
Yeah, but the fact that he's able to do all that and then live just kind of feels like,
oh, well, maybe kamikaze idea was fucking stupid.
Like maybe that's not what it's all about. Maybe you have people that care about you. Maybe it doesn't have to be that way. I don't know. I found that to be very touching. It sounds like you did as well, but I don't know. Yeah, just his whole arc particularly was really, really touching. And I liked that, his family unit is like almost emblematic of like the devastation of war, where it's so untraditional, where it's just, the whole country, and particularly obviously Tokyo in this, is like so devastated that like obviously he's all sorts of fucked up when he's coming back from the war. And so he meets this woman who's basically a vagrant and has lost her family, and she has this kid, but actually it's not even her kid. It's just some lady was just like, please take care of my kid. I'm going to die or whatever. And so you have this really, really crazy, non-traditional family unit. And at the same time, they are just as much of a family, but because of these unique circumstances that have kind of pushed them into this thing, they find each other. And there's just something almost like kind of heartwarming about that whole thing, until she gets fucking quote unquote vaporized, I guess. Godzilla.
She should not be alive.
Hand.
She should not be alive.
That's an interesting thing. What do you think? I don't. We're totally jumping around at this point, but yeah, I definitely thought she was a goner, and because it was a good gut punch. I mean, it was cinematic gut punch.
For
just
sure.
Being like, oof. She pushes him out of the way, and and man. But she does. She looked pretty good at the end, I thought.
She's looking all right.
Got a few bandages on. She's got a black mark. What's up with the black mark? What do we think about that?
I looked up the black mark. I was like, what?
Okay, what's going on here?
I tried to look it up. Nobody knows what the black mark is. I read one opinion that it was like a lasting impact, like the lasting impact of the conflict is within her. I read one that it's like a Godzilla scale, so she's going to turn into Godzilla. I don't buy that.
She could turn into Godzilla. That would be really cool.
I certainly hope that's not the direction they go into. I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I didn't need her anymore. Once she made that sacrifice.
Oh. Yeah. It did kind of feel a little too neat at the ending.
Yeah.
Where like I think him living, and I'm not saying she needed to be fridged or whatever to make his story that much better or anything like that. but I do kind of feel like it kind of I don't know. It's a little bit of, you know, having its cake and eating it too, where it's like he gets to live, but also she gets to live, and they get to live happily ever after. But also do they, because she's got this thing going on her neck, and also maybe Godzilla is still alive. So it kind of, to me, it didn't quite know what tone to strike completely with the ending.
She also got blasted by like an atomic breath, like fucking aftershock, where there's like buildings and all.
You know, it wasn't a direct blast, I guess we'll say. I mean, we didn't. I don't think we actually. Do we see her flying? I can't remember specifically.
Yeah,
if
she got fucking blown away. Like
she got blown away.
Yeah, like
she didn't get. She clearly didn't get vaporized, I guess.
She didn't get vaporized. No, she pushed him, and the aftershock pushed her away.
Just blows
with
her back
with all the buildings and all the other shit.
Yeah. It was a little perhaps a bridge too far in terms of
I didn't buy her
the logic of her surviving. The only thing, I mean, I think that it almost feels a little too happy, and I think that the things that might undercut that, which I think to me almost make me think, okay, maybe it's not so bad or not too saccharine of an ending, is I've seen some interpretations of the black mark being like radiation poisoning.
Okay,
you know. Because Godzilla himself has been buffed up with the nuclear powers. Maybe he himself is radioactive. Obviously, he has the atomic breath, which is called a heat ray in this, but maybe it's still atomic breath, and everything that he does is spewing radiation. And
well, that's how they were tracking him. They were tracking him with the buoys, the radiation.
Right, exactly. So basically, anytime Godzilla's around and he does shit, he's, you know, if he's not directly killing you, just by your proximity to him, it's like being at fucking Chernobyl, you know, like shit like that, where it's just fucking awful, you know. And so the last fuck you of taking you from -1 to -2 is, hey, you killed Godzilla, good for you, but also everyone is now sick with radiation and is going to get cancer. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that's obviously terrible. A good ending, but the fact that like that plus Godzilla ending, it just kind of feels like, hey, if you're going through this thing, like, hey, you know, Shikishima obviously has like a personal growth, and like, you know, he comes out of it in a really good place, but maybe the peace is not everlasting is kind of the way to look at it, in the way that, like, again, maybe that's closer to the grave of the Fireflies sort of like, fuck you sort of kind of ending. You know, like everything is sad and fuck you, you know, like, it could be closer to that if you look at it that way. I don't think you have to. I think the movie is ambiguous enough where it's like, you can choose this to be, you know, Inception style. You can choose this to be a happy ending, and, you know, Cobb is reunited with his wife, or it's all fucking dream, and he's just he knows it, and he's just accepting that, and he says, I don't care, it's good enough for me. You know, like, I think you can look at it a couple different ways and kind of figure out how you want to do it. You know, in terms of, do you think that this is a really happy ending? And like, I don't care how she survived with just a couple of facial scrapes and some bandages to cover it up. I'm just glad that she did. Or do you look at it as, yeah, she survived, but she's about to face something even worse, and they're all going to face something worse? Like, I think you could look at that, because it is kind of...
It's definitely the second option, especially when you see Godzilla's head, like, bubbling in the ocean.
Right, and it's like, yeah, so it's like, all right, well, Godzilla's not completely gone. Maybe this is a secret Godzilla prequel, and Godzilla's going to resurface in 10 years or whatever for the original Godzilla. I don't know. I don't know. There's a few different ways to kind of look at that. I don't know how I felt about it entirely. I think I like the aspects of it, but I think I'd have to see it again to see if, like, how it kind of settled with me, because I do kind of feel like her in the hospital particularly kind of just felt like an and one more thing, when I'm just like, okay, is this too much? Is this laying on? I mean, just too thick here,
the daughter being with the dad and stuff, that was enough for me, you know. But teach their own.
That's totally fair. What did you think about the plan to fucking sink Godzilla?
Oh, and then raise him back. I mean, just
and then fucking.
It's like the most brutal.
His ass.
It's the most brutal way to kill something ever. I have to say. Okay,
I gotta say that was the most baddest, assest, most fucking plan. like Godzilla wise, that I can't. I don't even remember what the plan was in Shin Godzilla, other than to just like do nothing and just like wait for something to happen. Like, you know, like this was like, you know, you had the doctor like just being like, we're gonna fucking sink that shit. We got these Freon things. We're gonna, you know, fucking add at him. You know, wrap it around his bitch. Just sink him to the ground. If that doesn't kill him, Then we've
We're
got
gonna
these
raise him
fucking
up super fast
we got
by
these
the tire
big fucking
people.
balloon things, and then he's just gonna pop right back up, and decompression's gonna fucking disintegrate his ass. And like it does kind of work because like when you see him and he comes
He's all
back,
fucked up looking.
he's all fucked up. Like he's like half alive. He's kind of a shell of himself, and just all it takes is one plane blowing up his fucking face, and you're good. I don't know, man. That was the concept of the plan. I thought was very creative and like a really smart and kind of fun way of how to handle Godzilla. And then seeing the actual execution of it was awesome. Especially because there's almost like it's like a fucking Dunkirk moment in this movie of all the tugboats coming on. Like we're gonna fucking
pull them up.
Dunkirk this shit. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was all pretty hype. In terms of
the only issue that I have
doing that all
with the final conflict of this movie is Godzilla goes to do his atomic breath on one of the boats,
right?
And obviously, it doesn't work. Or I guess it does work because it was like a decoy boat. But they were at the the depth that Godzilla needed to be. So at that point, Godzilla's treading water. I have an issue with Godzilla treading water. Like, what's Godzilla doing underneath the surface? He's kicking his big ass feet, and he's moving his T-Rex arms to tread water to stay upright to shoot the beam. Right? Because before he was swimming kind of like a I don't know, kind of like a dolphin or a whale or whatever. You know what I mean? When he was chasing the boats, and then the mine would go into his mouth, and then they blew it up. But when he was fighting the plane and fighting the other boats, half of his torso's out of the water.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And he's biting at shit, and he's doing stuff. And there's like he's in the middle of the ocean, like they're sinking him in this very spot. Mm. And so I thought that was kind of like a plot hole a little bit. But then again, we're talking about a big ass fucking dinosaur,
big ass monster. We don't know how it works. Maybe physics operate differently for Godzilla. Who's to say?
That's true. I don't know. That was the only issue I had. It's like that didn't make much sense.
No, that's fair. I don't remember it specifically bothering me in the moment, but it's something I would watch this movie again. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
I don't think
definitely.
I've seen it in theaters or anything like that, but it's definitely gonna.
I would like to crank it up
on the bookshelf at some point. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, try to make it the premium format at home. I'll look out for that just out of curiosity. Again, I don't remember it specifically bothering me or anything, but fair enough.
The plane was cool though.
Any other? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he had the ejecto seat, which was a good addition.
He just flew that shit right into his mouth, and like Godzilla was so fucked up, he just stopped, and then he blew up.
It just blew his head off.
Yeah,
well, into a few parts anyway, which was a good. I don't know, man. It was satisfying.
All right, what else we got on spoilers?
I don't know. I was going to ask you the same question. I think I kind of just vomited all my spoilerific thoughts out. So I was going to see if you had anything.
No, I think that's pretty much it. What a surprise of a movie, dude. It's nice when that comes around, especially with a property that is I don't know, a property that I enjoy,
Definitely. No. Honestly, I think maybe I already said as much. I just want to go back and watch Shin Godzilla now because I think it's been a few years.
True. Yeah, Shin Godzilla was pretty crazy too.
And I like how different these two movies were. Oh yeah, you got something? Go for it.
The design of Godzilla.
Yeah. I thought it looked pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. Oh man. And they did the thing with his spines in the back.
Oh yeah. Okay. We did bring that up earlier, right? Because you get the lighting up, but not only that, you get the fucking spikes like coming out as he's charging up.
And the first time it happens too. The first time it happens, I think, it's underwater, right when he blows up the ship.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy shit! And then he goes into mainland Japan and then lights it up. Oh, dude.
Yeah. Well, and when he shoots that fucking ray, and it just fucking.
The sound design and everything with that beam.
Sound design was awesome.
Very, very cool. Just man, very cool. Very cool shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I got.
No, I think that's all I got as well. Great movie. Kind of out of nowhere, but in the best way possible, right? Just the kind of surprise that you want, and sometimes you just got to step out of American cinema and find that,
That's true.
So, yeah. Well, that's Godzilla Minus One. What do you think? Do you want -2, -3? Obviously we're getting the American side of Godzilla things in the future, but what do you think? Do you want a continuation of this particular universe, this world, these characters perhaps, or at least this iteration of Godzilla, or do you think keep reinventing Godzilla on the Japan side of things, like Shin Godzilla to this is very different? What do you want to see in the future of Godzilla?
I would say continuation of this.
Okay. Yeah.
Just to
you got to bring back Yamazaki, I think, is the key.
Oh yeah, for sure. You got to see how his continuation of a character, how he continues to grow, and how Japan hardens from the experience. Like how do they prepare? Because in this movie, like, hey, listen, we're not going to do anything because like the whole world's against us right now. So we're just going to leave this to the civilians.
Japan has been basically demilitarized because they lost the war. That's kind of a consequence of doing so, is basically like we can't have the regular assembly, of the military, of army or navy in the way that we perhaps ordinarily would. So yeah, I don't know. Theoretically, if Godzilla comes back around when they are allowed to kind of reform their military, maybe Godzilla has a tougher challenge ahead of them,
right?
But I don't know. Maybe there's some other shit that I don't know. To me, it kind of seems like with the ending of this movie, they're not content to just let. I think it's ambiguous enough that it can stand on its own, and absolutely it does. But I could see the intrigue of them kind of wanting to go back to what happens next. So I would be down. You know what? I leave it to the fine folks over in Japan. They can make this fucking movie for under $15 million. Leave it to Toho. That's right. They got a handle on these things. We've certainly gone far afield from the two men in a suit punching each other, different monsters sort of era, which obviously was kind of the predominant form of film in the Godzilla universe for a long, long time. But this kind of modern reinvention of Godzilla has been something that's really, really been quite cool. Something I'm looking. Are these animated ones? What the fuck's going on here? Okay, there's been a bunch of animated Godzilla movies on Netflix. I was looking at it, and there was like 3 movies listed between Shin Godzilla and Godzilla Minus One from that were Japanese made, and there was a series of 3 Netflix animated movies. So
those are really weird. Cool. Those are the people.
Planet of the Monsters, City on the Edge of Battle, and the Planet Eater. Godzilla the Planet Eater. That sounds like some pretty intense
humans
shit.
live in space because Godzilla takes over the shit. It's crazy.
Shit. All right. Well, I don't know. It's still probably better than Godzilla times Kong, probably, but Anyway. All right. I think that's that then, and I think maybe this is where I should be asking you some things like, hey, what have you been up to? Anything exciting? Anything cool you want to talk about?
Die Hard. Watch Die Hard. Did we talk about that last time?
I think you started it.
Okay, well, we started and finished it. Truly a remarkable film. Very good film. Really enjoyed Die Hard. We started and finished Home Alone, which is another Christmas.
All right, you're full in on Christmas train. We are obviously almost halfway through December. We're halfway to Christmas, I guess, effectively.
Rewatched The Polar Express, which I thought, man.
What did you think about that? When's the last time you saw that?
I can't recall ever seeing the whole movie.
Okay, all right. And so your 2023 thoughts on the Polar Express then are what?
It can be a little creepy. It's a little weird.
Sure.
The animation's a little strange, but it was product of its time. Most of the music, I'd say 90%. Well, at least one song I didn't like. I didn't like the Hot Cocoa song. But there is a song by Josh. What's that guy's name for the record we got? Josh Groban. He sings a song called
Josh
Believe.
Groban. Okay.
Believe. He's all like, I don't know. He's got a good voice. We ended up buying his Christmas album, Noel.
Yeah. Okay.
It's classic. So good. But yeah, Die Hard. We've watched Die Hard so far. We've watched Elf. It's a classic.
Elf.
Love watching Elf.
Oh yes, yeah. Because you were doing this on Hulu on Disney Plus or whatever, right?
We did watch Jingle All the Way. Holy shit! Forgot about Jingle All the Way. Yep.
Turbo time.
Yeah, dude. Yes, exactly. And Polar Express. We got a whole list of movies that we're supposed to be watching.
So what was Baby's first Christmas movie officially then? Was it just Die Hard?
No, I think it was Polar Express. Polar Express.
Oh, Polar Express.
He was glued. I will say that Polar Express, when the train rolls up on the house to pick up the little boy for the first time, the subwoofers were doing work. Like, it sounded like there was a train outside of the house. It sounded very, 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 very good.
Woke up the neighborhood, and I said, I didn't know there were train tracks here.
Put a smile on my face whenever the train rolled through town. So yeah, anyways, we've been watching Christmas movies. I did hang up Christmas lights outside, and
very festive. Very good.
Yep. And we plugged them in the garage, and they seemed to be working. But when I plugged them in on the roof and had them all hung, only half of them worked, which is infuriating. Makes me.
I can imagine.
It made me very upset. Sarah laughed. She thought it was funny. I did not think it was very funny.
Did you tell her, "Oh, it's so funny"? Then come fix it yourself to see how funny it is. Then.
Yeah, it was very upsetting. We bought a new Christmas tree, so that was fun.
A real Christmas tree?
No, it was a fake one, but
okay.
So we got a new Christmas tree. That's cool. And have I been up to anything else? I can't think of. I started gift wrapping. lessons. So I have been known to wrap all my presents in aluminum foil. Aluminum foil requires.
It's a classic Andrew Meadows tradition. This is true.
No tape.
Confirm.
No folding.
All you need is foil.
All you need is foil. Just wrap it around in foil. And we started wrapping presents in paper with tape, and I appreciate good wrapping paper.
Concept.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, the thin stuff is just infuriating. Shit just tears, and it's no good.
Yeah, just
no good.
Makes me very frustrated.
Just
I just get tinfoil.
Just trash.
Hey,
it's a lot more durable. Maybe a little bit more expensive, but it is durable.
What else have we been up to? Is that about it? I think that's about it.
That's about it. All right. Well, I found myself this past weekend with an evening to myself.
Ooh.
And I was out with friends, and I thought, guess I should watch some things that Anna has absolutely no fucking interest in. This is a good opportunity to do that. So what I did is I thought, yeah, I could watch something Christmassy, or I could watch something horror, because that's the one genre she does not touch with a 10-foot pole if she can help it. So I did a little double feature, starting with The Exorcist Believer. Now,
was it good?
Peacock. It was in fact not good. In fact, it was trash. It was bad. It was quite bad. It was as bad as everyone said it was. And yet again, I found myself in a situation where I thought, is it really going to be that bad? The answer is yes. Yes, it was. Honestly, it's David Gordon Green, who's the same director that did that Halloween trilogy. And honestly, it felt closer to me to Halloween Kills, which is the one of those three that you didn't see, where it just felt like a bunch of characters standing around talking to each other about nothing and just acting poorly, and it just was. It was not good, and the worst parts of it, I think, were just doing worse riffs on The Exorcist sort of thing, and it didn't bring anything new to the table.
Mad,
it's like, oh, it's two girls instead of one. But it's like, okay, well, that didn't actually change anything, because they were being possessed at the same time, exhibited the same symptoms, etc., and kind of just, I don't know. It's had some interesting ideas that it decided to do absolutely nothing with. It was over long. It just, I can't recommend it. It was not good. And like, there's just like, I don't know, the big thing, like the exorcism itself is like a 20-minute sequence, but like the church doesn't sanction it. So they bring in like basically like a voodoo lady to be involved. And it's like, this is getting weird and not in a good way. And, they brought back Ellen Burstyn as Chris McNeil, like the mother from the first one. And like just what they did with her is like bad and insulting. And just, I don't know. It felt like sort of a nostalgia play, but I don't know I don't know what it is. I mean, the original Exorcist will probably never be topped in terms of just, you can't make an Exorcist sequel that's going to be as good as the first one. It's the Fury Road Furiosa situation, which is just like, hey, you're probably not going to top it, but if it's anywhere in the conversation as being as good, you've won, you've succeeded. And this is in the conversation with the second Exorcist movie, the Exorcist 2, The Heretic or whatever, which is just god awful trash. And this is kind of knocking on the door of just, why did this exist? Why is this here? Why did this exist in this incarnation? And it's just bad. It's just really bad. And it's too long. I suffered through it. I don't know why I did it. I got to stop watching shitty movies, like deliberately, like knowing that I'm going to get into some dog shit and just going for it. When it's on like 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, it's probably a telltale sign, stay the fuck away. So I should have listened. But thankfully, I redeemed myself with my second pick, which was a Hulu original movie, which I watched through Disney Plus via the Hulu beta thing. I thought the integration was actually fine. I kind of, the thing that pisses me off, which almost sounds like kind of what happened to you with Elf, is if your plan for Hulu has ads, it just imports the ads into Disney Plus, and that's kind of what I was hoping to avoid. It's like, well, Disney Plus doesn't have ads. Now maybe I can watch Hulu without ads, but it's like, no, it's still all the fucking same ads that you get from Hulu anyway. And I'm like, well, I mean, I guess I don't have to open a different app. I think I like the Disney Plus.
Were you able to progress in the movie though?
Yeah, no, I watched it fine.
I couldn't watch
yours was like an infinite loop or something?
Yeah, mine was in a loop in the first ad. I couldn't get past it, so I had to watch it a different way. But I tried to watch it the correct way the first time.
I did not have that issue, but it played perfectly fine for me. It was just, it had 3 ads throughout the movie, and I'm like, oh god, and I think there's obviously a version of this plan, especially when you get the full, because I think it's in March or April that Hulu is just fully going to be folded into Disney Plus. You're not going to have a choice. I don't mind that because I think the Hulu interface is worse than the Disney Plus interface, so I like the Disney Plus interface, controlling all the Hulu stuff. But it's kind of funny to like watch horror movies on Disney Plus. Like I think there's like a certain novelty to that. But it worked fine for me. But I had ads, and I was just like, I don't want ads. So at a certain point, I'll upgrade and get rid of it. But
how
I
was
watched
the
a
movie
called? I can't remember if I said what it was actually called. It's called No One Will Save You. It is a sci-fi horror movie, alien invasion sort of thing. And I really, really enjoyed it. I actually think you would dig it. I would recommend it to you. It's pretty lean. It's about 95 minutes, something like that. And it's got basically one character in it, played by Caitlin Dever, who I think is great. She was awesome and Justified. She was one of the main characters in Booksmart, for anyone that saw that. And she's maybe going to be a lead character in The Last of Us Season 2, but I don't think anything's been officially confirmed, so TBD on that front. But she's fantastic. Basically, she's this character that's been ostracized from the rest of her town, so she kind of lives off in the wilderness in her own house. Aliens invade, and she basically kind of has to, fight back and survive. And it's a movie that has, I think Wikipedia says there's 5 words of dialogue in the whole movie. Because basically she's the only character, and she's just, she's grunting and whatever, and like saying like, oh shit, or whatever. So it's kind of stuff like that, but she's not really interacting with anyone. And I thought it was really, really well done. I thought like the first half hour genuinely had more moments of terror than the entirety of The Exorcist did.
Wow.
The Exorcist believer, I should say, not the first Exorcist. The first Exorcist is still scary as shit. No, I really enjoyed it. It leans heavily into like classic alien designs and stuff like that. But it's got kind of a wonky, batshit kind of ending sort of thing. But I definitely would recommend it. So you can watch it on regular old Hulu or Disney Plus if you have the Hulu beta thing set up. So would recommend checking that out.
You're the second person that told me that the other person said, I did not like this movie at all, but I think you would.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, then
all
I
right.
probably will like it.
Yeah, because it's a little untraditional in terms of the filmmaking, where it is not it's a very plot driven movie, but it's just kind of set piecey of, this character just kind of surviving, through any means necessary. And I don't know. I think it progressed in a really natural sort of way, and I think that the explanations, it didn't feel like it was avoiding dialogue for the sake of being artsy necessarily. It just kind of was like, well, this character's not really interacting with anyone, so it kind of makes sense. And and she's not like mute or anything like that. She's just muttering to herself or screaming and whatnot. Like there was still sound, and the sound design was effective. The alien stuff was effective. So no, I would say check it out whenever you have some free time. Maybe non-Christmas time. Obviously, focus on the Christmas stuff for now. Certainly, that's reasonable and such. But after that, we watched. This is one that Anna and I went to. We saw Waitress the musical. I talked about seeing the original movie Waitress when we talked about Loki and the Marvels, and I really enjoyed that. It's like a quirky, early 2000s movie, I think. It was adapted into a musical, I think in 2015-ish, something like that, with Sarah Bareilles doing like the music for it. And what they did is, after COVID obviously shut down Broadway for a while, as they were trying to bring things back to Broadway, they did a revival of Waitress the musical, and Sarah Bareilles herself actually ended up playing the lead role. Did all the singing and acting, and they did like a Hamilton style filming version of it, version of it. And it's almost a little more film-y than Hamilton. Like Hamilton was very much kind of felt like watching a stage show. This is still very much watching a stage show, but I felt like they played with a little bit more angles and stuff to make it a little bit more cinematic almost. And it was fantastic. The music was really good. Tugged at the whole heartstrings. I was a little teary by the end, and like a good, like hopeful, satisfying sort of like cathartic sort of way.
Okay.
And Sarah Bareilles, I mean, she's one of Anna's favorite artists, so we have a few of her vinyls, and I think she's got a really great voice. She's a very talented songwriter, but and this is just kind of another demonstration of that. I thought she was fantastic in this role, and everyone else the whole cast was really, really good. Fun stage show, the setting of it, the staging of it was all really, really well done. There's I'll say a King George-like character who is kind of over the top and comical and steals the show, and I thought he was fantastic. And Christopher Fitzgerald is the actor's name. So anyway, I would recommend it. It's in theaters. I think it was a 5-day run initially, and I think they extended it for a little bit longer. But I'm sure it'll come to VOD and maybe streaming at some point. So honestly, I would say I think you'd get a kick out of Waitress the musical as well. So it's a
oh, no way! Is there a song called "She Used to Be Mine" in that movie?
Possibly. I don't know any of the songs by name. Can't say with 100% certainty.
Well, I looked up a Sarah Bareilles because there's a song that I really, really like. I've liked it for years, and it's called "She Used to Be Mine," and it's by Sarah Bareilles. I don't know if it's in the musical or not. But it talks about a waitress and stuff, and that about having the courage to do, about having like.
It is from the musical, yes.
Is it really?
Yeah. So
no way! Oh my gosh, I probably love the musical then.
So well, I guess it's probably about the same.
Was she in a bad relationship or something? And like she,
yes, her husband. She has an abusive husband, and she gets knocked up, and the whole show is about her like. How the fuck am I going to deal with this horrible situation that I find myself in?
Oh man, I didn't know that was not. I did not know that was part of a musical. I don't know where I've heard that song at the first time. But it's been part of my playlist and stuff, and it comes on all the time when I listen to music. Oh, love that song.
Well, so basically, Sarah Bareilles wrote the music for the original Broadway show, but she herself didn't, she wasn't in the original Broadway cast of it, but she ended up basically doing all of the music from the musical. She made her own album in which she kind of did all the songs herself, I think. And I think that one is probably basically the same because it's just the one character singing it. But that's probably what you're listening to it from is probably from her album that was just songs from Waitress. So yeah. Yeah.
Incredible. It's awesome.
There you go. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Check it out sometime, even if you don't make it to the theaters. I'm excited. I think you can probably watch it at home at some point. And it's like 2.5 hours, which is, pretty decent for a little stage show.
Yeah.
It's good. It's really good. Would recommend it. So last but not least, on what I've been up to is I finished a novella by Brandon Sanderson called Edgedancer. I've been reading it for a long, long time, and I finally finished it today, in fact. And it was pretty cool. It was really cool, actually. I felt like it was a little slow moving, and I think I kind of had to adjust to Lift as the narrator. She's all like, I don't know, not proper. She's not a proper lady or anything like that. You know what I mean? She's a little irreverent and silly and insulting and stuff like that. But I think that the more like the more it picked up and that more serious she kind of got, I think it kind of I don't know, it worked for me. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. I'm finally starting to make a little bit more headway with the Stormlight Archive. What's crazy, I was going to say, now I can go read Oathbringer and kind of catch up. I still got, another novella plus 2 big old fucking books to catch up. The absolute mad lad, Sanderson, has already set a date for Stormlight 5. I don't know if you knew this, but it's December of next year. So it's like basically a year away is the next one. And it's like, I mean, I know it's been a little while since I guess Rhythm of War came out, but it feels like it's been like a few months or something. I don't even know. So anyway, I've been slacking on that front, but Edgedancer was really cool. Seeing kind of a different slice of I guess Roshar or whatever the world is, and that side of thing. It's really cool. Obviously, you're well into it more than I am at this point. You have far surpassed me with your Stormlight consumption, Mistborn, and all that good stuff. But Edgedancer was a cool little novella, and I liked that it was compared to the big novels. Those are investments.
Well, they're bite-sized.
You know what I mean? This was, even though it took me longer than it should have, was a nice kind of like, I could just read. The chapters themselves were like 5 or 6 pages, and it was nice to kind of pick it up and down. So really enjoyed it. I don't think I'm going to jump right into Oathbringer right away, but probably
Oathbringer is fucking good, dude. It's real good.
I'm looking forward to it because I feel like Dalinar is just like one of the coolest characters, and him being kind of the main POV character sounds really interesting to me. So I'm looking forward to getting back into it. But yeah, I need some time before I like fully.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
It'll be a several month commitment at a bare minimum. Even if I read diligently, it'll still take me a good time to plug along. So anyway, head to New York City tomorrow. Anna and I we tried setting up an annual tradition of, instead of giving Christmas gifts to each other, of taking a trip to New York City and seeing a show, having dinner, and, seeing all the Christmas sights in the city and stuff like that. We didn't do it last year. After the wedding and honeymoon, we kind of really just couldn't find it in the budget. But this year we're doing it. We're seeing a show called Hadestown on Broadway, which I feel like is very fitting because, we've been talking a lot of mythological shit recently. It's based off of the ancient Greek myth of Orpheus and Eurydice.
Okay.
So a little riff on that with some music and, stage shit and all that good stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. I've heard good things about it, and should be fun. And yeah, we're just gonna make a day out of it. We're going to the Winter Village at Bryant Park, get some lunch, shops. We'll probably go up to Central Park and walk through a little bit, and then kind of Christmas classics, Rockefeller Center, see the big old Christmas tree, and yeah, I don't know. I'll talk about it next time we record, probably. So. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. But I should probably get to bed soon. So should probably wrap it up. You probably need to get to bed soon as well.
I do need to get to bed.
I'm not alone in that.
Time.
All right. Well, we're gonna get you to bed real soon, just the next few minutes, because I'm gonna go ahead and say thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, so many hours ago, although not 4, although I'm not knocking on the door. We're on Patreon at patreon.com/Watch Review Repeat. You can get early access to all of our regular episodes, but you can also get timed exclusive access to our bonus episodes, like, again, theoretically, what is up there right now, our finale of the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Return of the King. I think that's probably going to be our last proper bonus episode for 2023, but certainly
it's a good way to wrap it up.
We'll be putting out more next year, that's for sure. Maybe some epics. I don't know. Maybe something else. We'll talk about it. But
definitely Mad Max.
Maybe Mad Max at some point for sure. That's true. Our website's watchreviewrepeat.com. We're on the socials. We're on Twitter at WRRPod. Yeah, that's right. It's still Twitter, Elon. Go fuck yourself. And we're on Facebook at facebook.com/watchreviewrepeat. Yeah, it's still Facebook, not Meta, you fucking bitch, Zuckerberg.
What's wrong with these guys?
And we're on Instagram. And we're not on Threads, motherfuckers. Yeah, stick it to Zuckerberg again.
We are also on Truth.
I don't know if we are. I mean,
maybe
you made me count without my knowing. But, does that still exist, or that got shut down yet? There was another one. Was it Parler? Parler got shut down, I think, maybe. I don't know. We're on Jeremy Renner's fan app or whatever that was called, where you could interact with Jeremy Renner and his fans. We're on that, I think, as well. But anyway, Instagram we are at Watch Review Repeat, I should say. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, if you've got something to say, send it our way to watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. Hit us up if you got thoughts on Godzilla Minus One, Godzilla times Kong. You got thoughts on the trailer?
Hey.
If you got any other thoughts about anything, if you've ever thought about anything in your life and you feel like you need to share that with someone, hey, we'll take a look.
Share it with us.
Talk about it. We'll probably talk about that. Christmas movies. You want to talk about some Christmas movies? We can talk some Christmas movies, even though I haven't watched any yet. I gotta step it up. After New York City, I think I'm gonna feel the Christmas inspiration. It's gonna be Christmas movie season, baby.
At least you're Muppets, right?
I'm gonna have like 10 on my plate by that point, hopefully. Definitely Muppets. That's definitely in the cards. Intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. I don't know what we're doing for our next episode. We haven't talked about it. We'll figure it out. We're winding down the year. I think we might be able to sneak one more regular episode in terms of recording before the end of the year. I mean, we still got a few weeks until the year is fully properly over. We've got some options. We could circle back to The Boy and the Heron. Wonka's right around the corner.
Ooh, true.
Make chocolate, of course. We could be talking about Wonka. We could talk about Aquaman 2. Talk about The Color Purple. We could talk about Poor Things. Get some Yorgos, Poor Things going.
My goodness.
We could do Rebel Moon
action.
Rebel Moon Part 1.
I don't think it'll be Rebel Moon.
It could be though. You never say never, you know what I mean? So
it's true. Yeah.
It could be all of the above. It could be a 5-movie episode. It probably won't be. Or
it could be though.
6 total, but it could be. You never say never. That's our motto here. Never say never. But I don't know. We'll figure something out. We got Return of the King on our plate more eminently in terms of actually recording, and then if we can get one more regular episode in, great. What I will say is, I'm not confident that we'll have another regular episode recorded and up before Christmas. So I am going to say, even though it's a couple weeks early for us and it's a little silly, I am going to say Merry Christmas to all you filthy animals out there, I guess. So
you took it right out of me. Yeah, I was going to say it. Fuck. Merry Christmas.
You can still say it. So,
you filthy animal.
We'll reconvene at some point, hopefully in December. Maybe it'll be before Christmas for Andrew and myself. But either way, I hope everyone has and enjoys the holidays, has a merry good time, and all that good stuff. And go watch Godzilla Minus One, man.
It's true.
That's what I'll say. So I'll let you take everyone out.
Take care now. Bye bye then.
Later's on the Menjay.